at the time, the Senate President, Big Subiri, and my colleagues in the Senate, and the President himself in a dinner right after the APPF, and no less than the Speaker himself. It seemed like the work we did together in the APPF has generated a lot of not just goodwill, but they've seen how complete staff work really is reflected in the work that we do. And I could say that with all due respect to my Senate staff and those who were helping me in the Senate who also tried their best, I could not have performed my task as head of the, what do you call the committee? Drafting committee, which was very, very difficult to do without the presence and contribution and dedication of the DFA team that the Secretary had so generously lent to me. Let me just make sure that's on the record. And that's ASEC Maria Teresa Almohuela and ASEC Eileen Menjola Rao. Can you please, and is it also, can you help me? Who are the others who helped me then? Yes, Deputy ASEC Angelito Nayan also. Oh, your birthday today. Happy birthday. Yes. Who else? Was ASEC Maria Elena Algabre with us at the time?
Ma'am, our office had
Your office. Who was heading it then?
We had Miss Candy Flores Bauson.
Because the others may have gone to other posts. Yes.
Yes, she's now in Vienna PE.
Okay. May we just put on record ASEC Almohuela and ASEC Rao? Could you put on the record who else were there who have helped us? You would know the team, if you recall. Yes. It's not part of the hearing yet. I just wanted to put on record. So,
Madam Senator,
yes.
We had several officers from the Office of Asian and Pacific Affairs, including one of my Deputy Assistant Secretaries, Rafi Hermoso was there, JJ Donnell, JJ Domingo. There were several other officers from our maritime Southeast Asia office. So there were a lot of people.
A lot, yes. So you still had ASPAC. You headed ASPAC then. And ASEC Almohuela, what do you head now? Is it the same? It was still UNIO. You were UNIO then, still UNIO now. Who had left? Somebody had left for abroad on a foreign post. Not yet, you're still or here. Yes, so I just wanted to thank all of you. And what people cannot forget is how we made China sign the agreement or the document on the Korean Peninsula issue and the issue on nuclear. I can't recall now the exact resolution, but anyway, I'm very, very grateful. Yeah. So we start the hearing. It's actually a briefing because the GAB obviously is not yet with us. And I'm not certain whether you've had your hearing already in the House. So this is considered a briefing. I'm correct, right, Director Su? So may we please just first recognize, then I will read my opening statement. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Madam Chair and our honored guests. We have as our resource persons for this morning from the Department of Foreign Affairs and its attached agencies the following. The Honorable Secretary Enrique Manalo. Good morning, sir. Together with Undersecretary Antonio Morales for Administration, Undersecretary Eduardo de Vega for Migration Affairs, with Assistant Secretary Robert Ferrer Jr., Deputy Undersecretary Hans Siriban for Bilateral Relations and ASEAN Affairs. We have Senior Special Assistant and Deputy Undersecretary Raquel Solano for Multilateral and International Economic Relations. We have Deputy Assistant Secretary Maria Cynthia Pelayo for Civilian Security and Consular Affairs. Assistant Secretary Domingo Nolasco for Financial Management Services. Assistant Secretary Celia Ana Feria for Cultural Diplomacy, Deputy Assistant Secretary Angelito Nayan for Office of ASEAN Affairs. We have Assistant Secretary Christopher Montero, Human Resources Management Office, Assistant Secretary Adelio Angelito Cruz, Consular Affairs, Assistant Secretary Ariel Peñaranda, Office of Protocol, Assistant Secretary Maria Teresa Almojuela, United Nations and other international organizations, Assistant Secretary Maria Elena Algabre, Office of European Affairs, Assistant Secretary Arvin De Leon, Office of Public Diplomacy, Deputy Assistant Secretary Maria Elena Cristina Maningat, Maritime and Ocean Affairs Office, Deputy Assistant Secretary Marlo Miranda, Office of Middle East and African Affairs, Assistant Secretary Patrick Hilado, Office of Asset Management and Support Services, Assistant Secretary Jose Victor Chan Gonzaga, Office of American Affairs, Assistant Secretary Patrick Chua Soto, Office of Policy Planning and Coordination, Assistant Secretary Paul Vincent Uy, International Economic Relations, Assistant Secretary Eileen Mendiola Rao, Asian and Pacific Affairs, Vice Chairperson Robert Quintin, Overseas Voting Secretariat. And we also have Madam Chair from the heads of the attached agencies of the DFA, Chair Alternate Mary Ann Padua of the Technical Cooperation Council of the Philippines, Director General Francisco Noel Fernandez of the Foreign Service Institute with Ms. Ann Faigao, Undersecretary Antonio Atanasio Habulan, Presidential Commission on Visiting Forces. We have Secretary General Ivan Anthony Henares of the UNESCO National Commission of the Philippines Secretariat, UNACOM. And we also have technical and support teams headed by Assistant Secretary Adrian Bernie Candolada, Deputy Assistant Secretary Arvic Arevalo, Deputy Assistant Secretary Melanie Diano, Deputy Assistant Secretary Emilio Fernandez, Deputy Assistant Secretary Arman Talbo, and their teams. We have also from the Commission on Audit, Madam Chair, and the Department of Budget and Management, we have Mr. Fahad bin Abdul Malik Tumawis. Assalamualaikum. Mr. Claiborne Joy Molina, Mr. Edgardo Rivera, and for the DBM, Ms. Maricel Dizon. That's all for now, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have the PSA, the Philippine Statistics Authority? Oh, I was hoping, I'm not certain if I had mentioned that. Maybe it was in the hearing of Senator Risa Ontiveros, because could we call them? Would it be too late because we'll be extending for a few hours anyway, so that
We'll try.
because Senator Sherwin might be joining us to ask about the issuance of birth certificates and then the issuance of passports. So yes.
We have
Could we
from the
ask
consular.
for the PSA? Anyway,
Yes,
we
ma'am.
will ask that later. Let me just read, please, my opening statement. So we are here to discuss the proposed budget of the Department of Foreign Affairs for fiscal year 2025 as we navigate an increasingly complex global landscape. Our foreign policy and diplomatic initiatives must be well supported and adequately funded. The DFA plays a crucial role in safeguarding our national interests, promoting economic security, protecting the rights and welfare of overseas Filipinos, and promoting our cultural heritage to foster mutual understanding. It is essential that we ensure our resources are allocated effectively to enhance our capabilities in these areas. We will also address critical issues such as our ongoing efforts in the West Philippine Sea, assistance to Filipinos overseas in distress, and our commitment to climate change negotiations, among others. I look forward to engaging with all of you as we discuss how this budget will empower the DFA to fulfill its mandate and strengthen our position on the global stage. Let us all ensure that we continue to serve and protect the interests of our nation and our people effectively. So we now listen first to the budget of the DFA, the Office of the Secretary, and the attached agencies. And I may ask questions in between, but I will try as much as possible to ask my questions at the end. Thank you. We recognize Secretary Manalo. Proceed, please, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I will make a brief presentation of the 2025 DFA budget proposal.
Sorry, before you proceed, just like last year, Secretary, we had a quick lunch, but it's actually a working meeting where you summarized requests for possible amendments, right? May I also encourage everyone, including the consul generals or the attached agencies, to kindly submit everything to the Secretary, because we receive letters directly from consular offices. I don't think any consular office or embassy should bypass the Secretary. Let's say I received a request from Osaka. I don't know who heads Osaka directly. So I would appreciate receiving, they were asking for 40 million, because we would not know what is needed and what is not needed. So I would appreciate, I mean, not to put the head of Osaka in trouble, right? But it would be helpful if whatever is submitted to us, for example, can be copy furnished the Secretary's office so that it could be vetted, because we cannot amend the whole budget to accommodate all. And like when we talked, I said, this is what we can give, maybe this not, because it's not been spent, etc. So that, my staff just give me, hinihingi ng post nito, ng post ito. Okay, yes. But I would not know what is urgent, what is really needed, what has funds, but it's not being spent, right? So just so that, I also would therefore request my staff to put together all requests from all posts. But that's being proactive. They write the chair directly. But it would be best that everything goes through the office of the Secretary, so that when we meet, this is a priority, this is not needed. Even if they're asking, I think they should spend it here, right? We can ascertain what is most efficient use of our resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for your support. Yes, we've asked posts, in fact, requested posts to come to do directly to the DFA for any requests rather than go to others.
Request was not even, that's under the ambassador, right? Yeah, it wasn't
yes.
even through
To
Tokyo.
the
It was
ambassador.
directly to our office. So I was wondering how
Yeah.
it's done.
Yeah, we remind our posts also not to use those kind of approaches. So I thank you for your support on that, and I appreciate that. That will certainly.
But to be fair, they're being proactive.
Yes.
That's good. I like the attitude of being, pero para lang alam nyo lahat. Kasi there could be posts who are asking things which you may
Which you
not
don't know.
or buried in all the work that you're doing, right?
It's happened. Yes.
Yeah. MOE, I don't know if they ask confi funds or MOE, etc. So everything should be rationalized and under the Secretary. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for that, for your support on that. With your permission, then, Madam Chair, I'd like to just briefly present our budget proposal for 2025, and I'd like to update you and the committee on the recent accomplishments of the DFA and activities the past year. Following on slide 3, well, as we've said, the DFA formulates our country's foreign policy and promotes national security, country's economic growth, as well as cultural activities and consular services in order to protect the welfare of Filipinos overseas. Our mandate is being realized in the DFA headquarters here in Manila and in 39 consular offices throughout the country. That number may rise soon, as well as in our 98 foreign service posts, some of which will be, in fact, reopened this year. For 2025,
Just to clarify, how many will be reopened this year, Secretary?
we will have 4 embassies, which are already operating, as I understand.
We say reopen, those were part of the batch that were closed in 2012.
3 of
and-
them. 3 of them were closed in
Okay.
2012.
And the others are new posts.
The other one is a new post that's in Colombia, in Bogota. The
So-
three new ones are Ireland, Finland, and Romania. They were
Yeah, I
closed.
remember. They were closed in 2012
Yes.
and funded subsequently after and finally reopened this year in GAA 2024, right?
Mhm.
Or maybe even
Yes.
provided for last year but only reopened this year,
Reopened
right?
this year.
Okay. But previous to this year, there were already closed posts in 2012 that were reopened already because I've been trying to fund the reopening of those that were closed
Yeah.
in 2012.
Yeah, Stockholm, Barcelona.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, there were already.
Stockholm.
Okay. So maybe later you proceed, we can summarize those that were closed, those that were opened after 2012. Because I think I've been handling your budget since 2013 or
Ah.
14. Yeah, so it's been 10 years. So what were opened and what is still pending reopening or new posts that you need to open? Okay, thanks. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So for 2025, the DFA OSEC is proposing a budget of 27,159,363,000 pesos, which is a 10% increase from our current budget. Allow me now to share some of our recent accomplishments. Over the past year, we have had a number of meetings with a large number of countries at various levels. President Marcos Jr. met many of his counterparts, but I'd like to highlight the historic trilateral summit between President Marcos, President Biden, and PM Kishida, which was held in April in Washington. The president also visited Germany and Czech Republic, as well as visits to Asia with our counterparts in ASEAN, as well as in Japan and Australia last year. On our side, we conducted at least 47 bilateral meetings with my counterparts and other high-level officials in the first half of 2024. Over the past year, however, I've held 78 bilateral meetings with my counterpart foreign ministers.
Just a question. In all your bilateral meetings, do you mention and lobby for our vote that we need for the Security Council? Is that part of the agenda all the time, or is it a breach of protocol? If it's a courtesy call, then you mention that. I don't know. I'm not a diplomat, but if I were because I'm a politician, I would always put it at the top of the agenda. Nandiyan na rin, kausap na rin. Oh, by the way, ito. Or hindi ba dapat ganun po, Secretary?
Ma'am, yes, we raise it without fail, whether it's a courtesy or a thing, and it's normally a request. Of course, if they already support us, we don't need to raise it. We just thank them. Among my most recent engagements, which I'd like to highlight, is the trilateral ministerial, the 2+2 ministerial meetings we held just a couple of months ago. One with the United States, the Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense, and then myself and our Secretary of Defense, and then our 2+2 meeting, ministerial meeting with Japan, also held earlier this year. And these two meetings have solidified our bilateral relationship with our treaty ally, the US, and now our strategic partner, Japan. We also took opportunities to reach out to new potential partners. I visited Cyprus last June, which was the first visit by a Philippine foreign secretary. And we also met here in Manila, the Lithuanian foreign minister, also the first high-level visit of Lithuania in almost 30 years to the Philippines. I also visited Greece last July, which was the first visit by a Philippine foreign secretary to Greece. And just last month, I met the foreign minister and prime minister of Republic of Korea, as well as Mongolia. And just the other week, I met the foreign minister of Poland. Also the first time that a Polish foreign minister has visited the Philippines in about 30 years. Through such meetings, we managed to advance our national interests and, of course, raise issues of concern to us. Our campaign for a non-permanent seat in the Security Council, which we raised on every occasion, as well as the situation in the region, in particular on the West Philippine Sea. And also, we raised issues such as the importance of abiding by the rule of law, the importance of international law, and a rules-based order. We also, of course, raise other issues such as engaging cooperation with each other on climate change, etc. In these meetings, we go to slide 10. We always also point out our efforts and the need to uphold the rule of law as a means of reducing tensions and engaging in cooperation. We also lobbied our counterparts in these meetings to fight misinformation, as well as discussions on, as I said, on climate change and other important issues. Over the years, the Philippines has continued to demonstrate our commitment to peace, and our approach towards the South China Sea is firmly grounded on legal basis, that is UNCLOS and the Arbitral Award of 2016. In the UN, we participated last year at the 78th session of the General Assembly, where we articulated our main priorities in the Philippines. And I will be leaving this weekend to attend the 79th session of the General Assembly, which begins on Monday next week. One of our achievements also this year was the host being awarded as the headquarters of the board of the Loss and Damage Fund, which we're now working on regarding the legal details, as well as an adoption on the human rights resolution on seafarers in the Human Rights Council in Geneva, which we feel will now, which marks the first time actually that we've had a resolution recognizing the human rights of seafarers. We've also taken DFA numerous efforts to win, as I mentioned earlier, support from our fellow UN member states for a non-permanent seat on the council. And of course, we're preparing for our chairmanship of the ASEAN in 2026.
Go back, please, to the UNSC non-permanent seat. That's 2026 vote at 27 to 28. And we are already backed by ASEAN. And the OIC has backed Kyrgyzstan. No, not yet. There's no open support yet.
Well, I'll have
We cannot discuss it here.
we
will not discuss it here.
We've received no firm indication that, but I don't. Perhaps I could speak
Yes,
to you later
okay.
in private.
Yes, we recognize the presence of Senator Nancy Binay. Yes, thank you. You'd like to make an opening statement? Any message? Yes, thank you. Proceed. So, maybe you can just whisper it to me later. Okay, thanks. So, bilangan lang yan ng boto, di ba? Bilangan ng boto. Mga bloke.
Okay naman tayo.
Parang
Okay
din sa
naman.
amin. Hindi ko pa alam kung okay tayo. Sige.
Making progress on that. Good morning to Senator Binay.
The results of the US elections, will that have a bearing on our candidacy? Will the results of the US presidential elections, sir, have a bearing on our non-permanent seat candidacy?
I don't think it would
No.
have a bearing. I
Okay,
think.
thank you.
Madam Chair, on the next point, this is regarding the Legal Assistance Fund and the Assistance to National Funds. These have enabled the DFA to perform our mandate in terms of ensuring the welfare of overseas Filipinos. Of course, in coordination too with the DMW, Department of Migrant Workers. And for the 9th consecutive year, the Philippine government fully met the minimum standards for the elimination of trafficking in persons and maintained our Tier 1 status in the U.S. State Department's Trafficking in Persons report for 2024. I also wish to reiterate our gratitude to the Senate and also the House of Representatives in enabling DFA to extend our public services closer to the people through the opening of new consular offices.
Sir, the new consular offices are directly under the DFA. These are not the consular offices that were opened during the pandemic or LGUs were handling it. What do you call that? Satellite consular offices? What is the right word to use? Those that were set up, parang contracted what do you call it?
TOPS, temporary,
Temporary
off-site,
off-site passport
services.
services.
Yes.
Are there still, but this was only done during the COVID pandemic, right? And are these directly under the DFA or contracted to a group or bidded out, or is it an LGU in charge? Because dapat sagot yung lahat ng services eh. We don't know kung napapasukan ng sindikato. I mean, to be very, very clear about it, because you will be answerable for whatever happens in those TOPS, whatever issuances will be made. Sir, may we know if the TOPS, which was a special program because of a pandemic, still exists, and kindly cite the difference between the offices in the provinces like Cebu and Antique as opposed to the TOPS, the services rendered and the setup before we proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I request our Assistant Secretary Cruz to respond to your queries?
Please proceed.
Good morning, Madam Chair. With your indulgence, Mr. Secretary, ma'am, the TOPS were an offshoot of the pandemic when we had to provide consular services despite the ongoing dilemma that we had all over the country. We have initiated the closure of all these TOPS except for a few. And I'd like to specifically identify, we have two more in Cebu that are operating. We only have one consular office in Cebu. And because of the volume of people in Cebu, we had to sustain two TOPS offices.
Please explain so that Senator Binay and I, and it's also on record, the difference between the TOPS in terms of, in the consular office, in terms of services rendered.
With very minimal manpower. Most of them were not organic DFA. But we had
Sila job order,
ano po,
contractual, casual.
contract of service po. Yes, ma'am.
Services do they give?
Passporting, ma'am. Only renewal. Yes. Only renewal
Sorry,
po.
ang renewal ba kailangan face-to-face or a Dropbox lang?
It has to be personal appearance po because the biometrics
Yes.
are taken.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Kasi nakarinig ako sa last year na budget hearing ito na merong mga nag-apply na hindi marunong mag-Filipino or English, may translator. Obviously, hindi yung Pilipino, pero nabibigyan ng passport. And if the Philippine Statistics Authority has admitted issuing 1,200 birth certificates, I don't know if I should call it inauthentic because they're authentic. They were issued, napasukan nga, I keep on saying this, sorry to say, government, napasukan nga ang PSA. So those with birth certificates can go to any TOPS and get a Philippine passport, right? So if DFA personnel who go through the process of being in the DFA, hindi ako kakabahan. But if these are contract of service, now please tell us the difference in the services. If there's just two remaining, tell us how much it will cost. We will provide you the funds and so that everything kontrolado nyo. Kaya pag may problema po, kayo ang sasagot. Hindi pwede yung contractor or yung LGU o yung supplier o yung head ng JO. Diba? Oh, Senator Binay.
Siguro, wala ho bang violation na, for example, may mag-a-apply ng passport, dala niya yung birth certificate niya, but cannot speak Filipino or the local dialect, and then si DFA ho would not issue the passport, would you be committing a violation?
Madam Senator, we are proud to say that since November last year, we were able to prevent the application of questionable nationalities applying for a Philippine passport. More than 171 attempts have already been prevented by the Office of Consular Affairs.
171, did you refer it to another government agency, like for example, DOJ, BI, or
We have been actively coordinating po with the PSA, the Bureau of Immigration, and the National Bureau of Investigation. In fact, we have already submitted po 71 cases to the National Bureau of Investigation. And
Yes.
then based
Thank you for that.
So-
Continue po. Finish your sentence.
Madam Chair, thank you. And based on the due diligence of our colleagues at the Office of Consular Affairs, and with the approval of the Secretary, we canceled 66 passports already that were found to have been fraudulently issued to Chinese or foreign nationals.
Okay. Thank you for that information. The 171 applicants for Philippine passports, were they applying in a TOPS office or in a DFA office?
All over, ma'am, in the TOPS office, in the consular office, even at ASEAN, our main office, Madam Chair.
So they tried in the main office in ASEAN,
Yes, Madam
in
Chair.
a consular office. San ba ang inyong consular offices?
We have 39 consular offices all over the country,
Okay,
Madam
39.
Chair. Yes, Madam
And they
Chair.
also tried in a TOPS. So
Yes,
it's
Madam
not
Chair.
just only trying in a TOPS office. And you were able to apprehend the 171, meaning they had Philippine birth certificates,
Yes, Madam Chair.
which were authentic or fake. That's why you did not issue them a passport.
There were a number that were genuine. There were a number that were obviously fraudulent. And what we do po to ensure that this does not happen again is if it was a questionable application, we immediately get the biometrics
Okay.
of that person, flag it all over our COs all over the country, and that this will prevent them from forum shopping and attempting to apply in other COs.
This please of the 171, the names and faces and which ASEAN TOPS, which consular office did they apply in, and what year, date, time. In short, and which agency the 171 were passed on to for possible prosecution, right?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Chair, can you
Yes.
also include if they're new or renewal of passports?
Were they first-time applicants or renewal po?
Most were first time po, all with the delayed registration of births.
Those 171, they may not have passports, but they have birth certificates. So they're all over the place.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes. You refer them to the DOJ?
Well,
Pag ako dyan tatawag, dapat yung police nandiyan na eh. Ako gigiling ng mga
Madam Chair, we are in the process of undertaking an MOU, the Philippine National Police. So wherever they apply, once we are sure that it was a fraudulent application, we can already seek the assistance of the nearest police precinct to apprehend these passport actors.
You would have the names and addresses of all these 171.
We have all the applications on hand, but we are not sure po if the address given
Yes.
are genuine or fictitious po.
Meron mo ba dun sa number na yon na physically accosted already?
We have one case po in Davao where our CO immediately called the National Bureau of Investigation. The agents were able to apprehend a 21-year-old Chinese foreign national. Well, it was factual. It was factual po. Yes. And he was immediately apprehended by the NBI.
So we must ensure that you have a MOA with the NBI. You already have?
We are undertaking and facilitating a MOA with the PNP po.
Okay. May I suggest, Secretary, that all consular offices, whether ASEAN or you still have TOPS, a few, and the consular offices would have a process. Once there's a question, sinong unang tatawagan? NBI. Sino sa NBI? Ito, may ano dito. Tapos darating na kaagad. Yeah? Without violating the rights of the person. Kasi, hindi siya...
Can you detain?
You have the power to detain or at least the NBI to question the person.
Madam Chair, kasi kailangan medyo i-hold nila yung tao dun sa...
Unfortunately, we don't have the power to detain Madam Senator, but we delay and as much as possible until the arrival of the appropriate security agents po.
So do all consular offices know that they must call the NBI when there is an applicant with either a genuine birth certificate but cannot speak Filipino or English and has a translator, whichever, or an inauthentic or a fake one?
Yes, Madam Chair, we
O marami nakalusot. Yung 171 kasi proactive yung consular office, yung nakalusot. Ano yun?
we have a lot of those po who just walked away, unfortunately. No, but all our COs have been advised and informed already po to immediately call the nearest police precinct or substation for assistance. If I may, Madam Chair, we even had one case where a foreign national, he came in and he said he appeared to be a PWD, deaf and dumb. So he just sat there smiling. It was a good thing that we had people who knew how to communicate using sign language. To that extent, we were able to prevent the application of that foreign national. So they're trying so many ways and means. But so far, we've been very diligent and successful in preventing the applications.
Thank you for that information. So may we request the 107, the information on the 171, the names and the addresses given, the applications, and the action taken by the consular office that had received them, and what was acted on by which government agency? PNP ba? NBI ba? DOJ ba? Or kung walang action, aminin lang natin that's okay because hindi maliwanag. Then may we also have perhaps a memo advisory from the Office of the Secretary on moving forward, effective immediately, what to do in case there are. Because congratulations, you're able to apprehend or at least prevent the 171. But may nakalusot kasi wala pa tayong maliwanag na gagawin. And then we have a clear line of communication with the NBI. Okay. Then how many tops, sir? How many more? 2?
We have 2 in Cebu. We have 1 in Quezon City, ma'am, NCR. That's the tops in Shumart, North EDSA. No. We have 1 more at right beside the DFA, Asiana Point Double Dragon. And then we have another one in Uptown Mall in Taguig. So 6 po lahat.
Tops.
Yes,
And
Madam
they were
Chair.
open during the COVID pandemic.
Yes, Madam Chair.
And we agreed last year that you were in the process of closing the top so that there could be consular office and we're willing to provide the funding. So in fact, I will read a special provision in our GAA for this year, 2024, streamlining of the non-performing temporary off-site passport services. Yan. Pursuant to proclamation, blah, blah, blah. Yan. So during COVID-19, the DFA shall implement a streamlining of the non-performing. Perhaps what we should do in the 2025 is not just streamlining, but the closure, because we've given them enough time, right? But we will provide you with consular offices funding, right? So, and that's better, right? It's better for you so that you can monitor your people. Yes,
Chair.
yes.
Question lang.
Senator
If it's a consular office, may contract of service din kayo na employees?
We started hiring po home-based DFA personnel, Madam Senator, to be headed by an organic DFA from the head office. So these will all be legitimate DFA employees po.
Eventually.
Okay,
Madam
legitimate.
Chair, yun lang. Kailangan lang natin
Yes.
kulitin si DBM because, I mean, knowing their track record, medyo mabagal sila dun sa pagbibigay ng positions.
Okay. So can you answer that question now? How many PS, how many personnel do you need? And once we provide the MOE, the funding for rental, for space, etc., you already have the list of people needed, right? It wouldn't be more than 50.
We are humbly requesting po, because we expect a surge of renewal of passports in the next 2 years po. We are humbly requesting po for the opening of 6 consular offices po. The cost of each consular office is 16.4 million pesos. The average number of employees po would be 15 home-based and 1 head, which will come from the DFA ASEAN, Madam Chair.
6 would replace the tops. Once we have the 6, then we don't need the tops.
Yes, Madam Chair. From the original 20 tops that we had during the pandemic,
From the
original 20 tops that we had during the pandemic,
tops, yes.
we only have about 6 remaining, Madam
And
Chair.
to replace the remaining tops, which you want to close because it's difficult to monitor these people, the tops don't have a DFA in charge?
We have 1 DFA organic employee po, supervising.
What level?
FSSO 2, FSSO 1, senior staff, Madam
But,
Chair.
can you answer me, maybe Secretary, are the tops a possible threat to our national security if mismanaged?
I think definitely.
Yes, I said
Mismanaged,
possible.
yes.
So it is. Because it is a possible threat. I'm being very conservative about it to our national security. And the brazenness of the syndicates to even apply in ASEAN and our consular office, but they would take advantage of the tops. And I'm sure out of the 171, marami dyan ang nagpupunta sa tops dahil hindi naman yan DFA. Kasi pag organic ka DFA, wala, matatakot, hindi gagawa, iba yung training sa inyo. Kaya palitan na kaagad. So please give us what's needed. You said 16 M for 1?
16.4 million.
16.
Yes, Madam Chair.
6.
Yes, Madam Chair.
120, 30, 60, 120 M, right?
Madam Chair.
So, yes, I will amend the budget to include the opening of 6 consular offices to replace the tops. And give me the list of personnel needed, and we will call DBM. Diba? It's a national security issue. We can't wait another year. Another year, may makalusot maski isa lang na alis go, patay na tayo. Hindi pwede mag-antay. Dapat isara na yan.
Madam
Oo,
Chair,
yeah,
yung
yeah.
16 million, that's PS, rental, all in na yan, equipment.
Yes, Madam Senator.
Next year, sana walang tops this year.
Do you have a,
You asked
or
for-
do you have a budget for this, meron na ho ba kayong allocation for next year? Do you have an allocation for next year to open new consular offices?
Wala.
Or for next year? Baka meron na din sa budget, Madam Chair, konti na lang idadagdag natin.
Yes. Tama. Tama si dating chair ng accounts. Alam. Do you have, hiningi ba nyo to last? Kung hiningi nyo sa akin ng 2023 ito, hindi nyo hiningi eh. Alam naman yung kinanggigigilan na namin yung mga tops na yan at yung mga sindikatong pupunta at humihingi ng, kung hiningi nyo, that's 98.4 lang pala. Hindi lang. Okay? So that will be an amendment, and please prepare already kung may contract sila for the rental, whatever these places, talk to the LGUs, talk to whoever's in charge, and we'll provide for the opening of consular offices under the DFA directly.
Actually, Madam Chair, is it possible that you just convert yung tops nyo into a consular office? Like for example, yung sa Double Dragon, you'll just take over yung pag-run nun. Kasi in a way, Madam Chair, existing na yun eh. May existing rental na sila. So parang the transition wouldn't be that difficult.
If I may, Madam Chair, Madam Senator, yes, we normally coordinate with commercial malls who graciously allow us to operate, and in turn, we ensure them at least 2,000 foot traffic a day.
Para maliwanag po, we see the phasing out September, October, November, December in anticipation of the GAA funding of 100 na, going to 100M for consular offices to replace the top. So it will all be controlled by DFA. At kung meron pa rin makapasok dyan na Chinese or any foreign national with fake or even genuine birth certificates, PSA is on the line nga. Isa pa yung mga yan. So, mas masasagot nyo and you can control it better, right?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Yes. Kung hiningin nyo nga last year, 2024, sana meron na. Pero wala nang sisihan, sige, gagawin na po natin. Okay. Thank you. Proceed with your budget, please.
Thank you, Madam Senator. Could we go to slide 19? Since its soft launch last year, the DFA and DICT have been testing the e-visa system in India as part of our efforts to promote more tourism and business opportunities from India and vice to the Philippines and Philippines to India. Also, the DFA continues to provide quality and timely consular services. In 2024, we issued over 1.8 million passports, over 116,000 visas, and some 377,000 apostille certificates, as well as over 38,000 civil registry reports. The new Philippine Passport Act passed this year will also make passport applications more convenient for Filipinos. We also signed an agreement with the PSA to help expedite the submission of passport application requirements. In line with our digitization efforts, the DFA and COMELEC will implement internet voting as one of the modes for the upcoming elections overseas. We also rolled out an e-apostille system for birth, marriage certificates, and the CENOMAR, or Certificate of No Marriage, also.
Secretary, can you just expound on the internet voting? Because I was just in the other room with COMELEC, and then parang they discuss nga itong internet voting. How prepared yung mga posts natin for this type of voting?
Thank you, Madam Senator. Could I refer to my colleague?
Kasi parang sinabi ni COMELEC na parang they asked for, parang kasama to dun sa tinamaan na hindi nabigay na budget nila. So ano yung implication nito sa mga posts?
If I could request Mr. Quintin to reply to that question.
Yes, Madam Chair. We are in coordination po with COMELEC, and in fact, we have joined them in the rollout of the internet voting. We started with Busan in June. So ang ginagawa po namin, we already introduced the module, the current system as it is. We have our personnel at post test it also para po alam po nila how it will be implemented. And then we also have some orientation for members of the Filipino community. So far, we've had positive reactions naman po and reception from the Filipino community. Although we still anticipate that there will be some segments of our overseas Filipinos abroad who may be resistant to this, but we're slowly helping COMELEC po to disseminate yung information about it. So we're gathering their comments para po ma-customize yung system to make it more para po mas madali pong magamit across the different sectors po ng overseas Filipinos, kasi meron din pong mga hindi talaga ni tech savvy. So that's where we're helping COMELEC right now. As far as impact po on the operations of post during the elections, definitely po mawawala po yung interperson interface. So, and that will also relieve yung pong pressure on our personnel. So definitely with online voting or internet voting, hindi po maapektuhan yung aming delivery of consular services during the 30-day voting period po.
Then yung information campaign ba would come from the COMELEC's budget or budget ng DF?
It's funded by the COMELEC po, ma'am, and supplemented by funding from the Overseas Voting Secretariat of the DFA. But it's the majority po is pondo po ng COMELEC.
Yeah, kasi parang may funding constraints sila when it comes to overseas voting. Because I think, Madam Chair, very important itong information campaign because our OFWs would be voting in a different way. This is totally a new method sa pagboboto.
Who's in charge for the internet voting in the DFA? Yes.
The OVS, the Office of, yeah, Mr. Quintin.
Which office is this?
Overseas voting.
Yes.
Uh,
May we hear his name and
Madam Chair, Bob Quintin po from the Overseas Voting Secretariat. We are an office po under the Office of the Undersecretary for Civilian Security and Consular Affairs. The Yusek Domingo po serves as the OVS chairperson.
are there any legal issues regarding the internet voting?
We follow what kami po under the law. We are just implementers po of the policy directions of the COMELEC, and the COMELEC has you know yes po is nag-ano na po sila ng resolution last year, I mean February of this year, to implement internet voting in 76 posts across the world po. So they're riding on Section 23 of the amended Overseas Voting Act, which gives them authority to implement voting either by mail or by any other means. So yun po. We are being told that well, at least COMELEC is saying that the only way to stop them is by temporary restraining order from the courts. Yes, ma'am.
Maybe in another forum, you can just tell us how it's done technically. Is it
Kasi
easy?
COMELEC,
COMELEC would be.
yeah, COMELEC. Actually,
No, silang implementer.
no, but si COMELEC yung like you, for example, even yung pagre-register, yung enrollment in the system, it's COMELEC who's doing it. So, may mga
Yes, ma'am.
requirements na you need a photo with your passport, and then parang you need to validate from the voters list. So, may mga ganong process.
But COMELEC does not have offices worldwide.
So,
Tama.
apparently, there's an office in COMELEC na kung saan lahat ng data papasok dun
Mhm.
sa mag-pre-enroll.
Hmm.
So, I think it's a...
If I may, madam, ganito po, COMELEC will come up with the system, they will train our personnel, and then we implement po during the election period.
Apa po yun. We're not yet there.
Wala pa po, ma'am. We transition to the election period after the registration period ends on September 30. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, siguro, if balikan lang ho natin tukol dun sa passports. Di ba you also have that passport on wheels? Parang at the moment ho, how many do we have for that program?
Madam Senator, it depends on the request made by a particular local government unit. On the average, we have a passport on wheels every week all over the country.
Because ASEC, can also be an alternative dun sa consular offices, di ba? If we add more for itong passport on wheels.
The unfortunate, the disadvantage po of a passport on wheels is so you can only do it po on a regular basis and with a minimum number of applicants. The maximum accommodate for a passport on wheels would be about all over the country. So it's taxing also for our colleagues. And if we send people po out to far-flung places, mahirap din po.
Or kasi, Madam Chair, yung pinas natin yung sa passports. Di ba, eventually, there's this parang digital passport na concept na wala na yung magkakaroon ba? Not yet? Or it's more of dun sa visa?
Yung under the new passport law po, we will allow OFWs and senior citizens to apply in non-appearance na po No, they just send in their application and photograph. So this is under the new passport law po.
Yung add na rin yung pages. Kasi marami din ho sa ating mga OFWs yung nagrereklamo. Kasi lalo na kung yung employer nila regular na nagta-travel. So minsan nauubusan na sila ng pages for their visa, for their yung tatak
Yes,
nung...
Madam Senator,
So,
we're
hindi
happy to
regular.
report po that we are doubling up the number of pages from 32 to 64 pages na po.
That's good to hear, ASEC. Magandang balita yan, lalo pag nakakakita ho kami ng OFW when we travel abroad.
Thank you.
You mentioned about passport on wheels. I didn't know that. Is it still existing? And in what provinces do you do it? Or do you do it also in Metro Manila?
We do it po on a regular basis. And in line also with the Bagong Pilipinas Servicio Fair, we make sure that there's active participation from the DFA every time there's one. But we also give input to requests from local government units, especially those that are really far-flung, with applicants having to travel inter-island just to go to the nearest CO.
Pinsya po, example, na ginawa niyo yung passport on wheels.
The farthest po, we've gone to Tawi-Tawi.
Pag-asa Island.
How much is an amendment for passport on wheels? Or do you have the organic funds in your net?
We have it on our funds. We use it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How much is you said you're able to accommodate 600 a day?
600 applicants a day. We work closely po with the LGU. They provide the board and lodging, of course, the venue, internet service. We just provide the warm bodies in the vehicles. Yeah.
Yung binuksan kong consular office sa Antique na pinondohan ko sa third term, naging operational sa fourth term. Hindi nyo kasalanan kasi nag-COVID, no? But it's already there. That's in the south. That's San Jose. Kami, taga Pandan, 3 hours away. I don't think meron kayong passport, may consular office kayo sa Aklan. Meron kayo? Wala. Wala. Wala nga. Panay, iikot pa. Pupunta pa silang Iloilo. Ang Capiz, wala rin kayo. Wala rin. Lahat
Wala
pupunta pa ng Iloilo. 8 oras yun. So kung meron sa norte ng Antique sa Pandan, which is just next door to Ibahay, Aklan na yon, marami kayo hanggang 1 hour to Kalibo, marami kayo masaserve. Diba? North Antique, parts of Aklan, tapos 2 hours, nasa Rojas City na kayo. Gagawin natin yon. Masaya, kasama ako. So, ilang araw ang kaya nyo na passport on wheels? Tuturo ko kayo. Akong bahala sa tulugan. Ilang araw ang kaya ng DFA sa passport on wheels?
On the average, ma'am, we send out a team on a Wednesday, set up a Wednesday evening, operate Thursday and Friday, if needed, Saturday as well, and then pack up, be back in Manila by Saturday evening po. 15 people po for a team.
Sa consular office. No.
For the Antique
Yes.
office, ma'am, we're happy to report that we're already coordinating with RLC Robinson's Land. They're going to give us a bigger space. We currently operate 130 square meters.
Visited Robinson's. It's there, but it seems like a temporary office.
Yes, ma'am. Only 70 people can be accommodated every day, but they're going to more than double the size. And we're looking forward to finalizing our negotiations with RLC in time for an opening po late this year.
Because pwede rin ma-serve nun, hindi lang Antique yun, pati Miagao, San Joaquin, yung malalapit bayan.
Opo.
Tapos sa norte, 3 hours, let's say Pandan, nandun ang Ibahay, Balete, hanggang Kalibo, 1 hour away. Diba? Tapos wala kayo buong Aklan, wala kayo buong Capiz. Kawan, babiyahe pa ng Iloilo, ang layo-layo. Kawawa naman. So, kung gusto nyo magbukas ng isa pang consular office o gusto nyo wheels, you decide because of the geographical distance. Right? Maybe we can open one consular office in Kalibo. You decide. Kayo ang mag. It's not for me to dictate. Yes, but we can do the passport on wheels next week.
We will be ready, ma'am.
Teka, yung mga taga Makati, pupunta pa sa ASEAN? Hindi, ito totoo. NCR yan.
Madam Chair, I think regular merong passport on wheels. Like, I know for a fact, yung Barangay Bel Air, they provide that service. And usually the villages.
The villages provide it or it's DFA that provides it?
We send the people, and then usually the host will take care of all the logistical
Okay,
requirements.
barangays,
ma'am.
11 barangays. The affluent village,
Seven.
mali ako. Kala ko 11, mali ako. So 17 barangays. Ilan lang dyan ang affluent? Eh yung mga hindi, paano sila? Pupunta saan? ASEAN. Gusto mo ng passport on wheels? Yeah. Pwede ang Makati, pwede o hindi qualified? Kailangan malayong lugar.
Pwede po. We have undertaken passport on wheels na po in Makati as well.
Kailangan bang may kakampi daw na barangay captain? Hindi makampi. Hindi makampi yan doon eh. This is service to the people. Okay, can you make it my project that there could be passport on wheels in Makati? You do Bel Air eh. Or you set the site. It doesn't have to be political, right? Doesn't
Done,
have
ma'am.
to be the project of a barangay captain? No. Ano?
We try to filter out the requests po up to the level of a mayor. Kasi if all barangays will request, hindi na po namin kayang puntahan lahat ng mga barangay sa buong bayan. Yes, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, siguro maganda natin gawin sa Batangas din.
You have the funds available for this year, for 2024. Meron
Yes, we do,
pa.
Madam Chair.
Magkano ang isang araw ng passport on wheels? Para lang we know the funding ano.
Ang ginagastos lang naman po namin ay gasolina, in transportation cost. Of course, the personnel will be paid according to their daily wages because they're working on a weekday.
And then host yung LGU.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Kung hindi man LGU, doesn't have to be LGU. It could be, let's say, an organization, Rotary Club, let's
Yes,
say,
ma'am.
Zonta Club,
Yes, ma'am.
Senior Citizens Club of the Philippines.
Yes, ma'am.
PWDs, right?
Sa Senate,
Oo.
we do it eh. Di ba? Dito sa Senate, parang we do passport on wheels.
A very short one-pager proposal on the passport on wheels, and when the personnel, the officers are available in the next few weeks, especially October where we're on break, it would be nice to witness passport on wheels. You know, because ang laking bagay sa Pilipino, meron na akong passport. Parang nakagraduate ng college eh, ganun. At ito'y authentic passport. Di ba? Anyway, and just tinutulungan ba nyo yung mga humihingi ng passport o nag-a-apply kung may problema sila sa PSA? Or silang bahala sa problema nila sa PSA?
Madam Chair, what we do po is we coordinate months in advance with our host. We identify a point person who in turn relays all the general requirements to the prospective applicants. Para pag nag-apply po sila, kumpleto na po sila ng dokumento. Hindi na po sila pabalik-balik na lang po.
Thank you very much. Please proceed.
Thank you. Madam Chair, could we go to slide 23, please? The department has also won the Ugnayan Award from DBM, which recognized our commitment to accountable, transparent, and efficient procurement. Honorable Senators, the DFA has actually gone through a number or many more activities which we didn't have time to present here, but rest assured that we will continue to fulfill our mandate and even go beyond it if possible. So to that end, our priorities for 2025, some of the major priorities include the opening of 4 new foreign service posts. This is in addition to those I mentioned earlier. And our campaign for the 4 new foreign service posts would consist of 1 embassy in Fiji, in Suva, and 3 consulates in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh, in Seattle, and in Busan. Busan.
We didn't have a consulate in Ho Chi Minh?
No,
Really?
no, only Hanoi. We have an honorary
But
consul
there's a DTI office.
in.
Yeah, there was. I went
Yes,
there
yeah,
long ago. May DTI office pero walang
Walang-
konsulado.
We have
I
a
see.
honorary consul, but we have an honorary consul, but we think that maybe it's time to open up a full-time consulate. And then the other consulates we're proposing are in Seattle and also in Busan, ROK.
What else were the posts that were closed in 2012 that are not yet reopened?
Caracas, Venezuela, but maybe yeah. Palau, Havana, Palau, Havana,
Kaya natin.
Coror.
So Caracas hindi na kailangan.
Hindi na muna.
No, it's not for me to decide pala. What's next?
We'll have it on
Palau? Kailangan,
Which
kailangan na. Ano ang sakop ng Palau? Who handles Palau now?
Tokyo.
I know. No, you should have Palau. Don't you need Palau?
Yes, that was also included in our possibilities, but we felt that at the moment Fiji might be more strategic importance. But
Palau is Micronesia.
now,
Palau
no.
is
yeah, the Pacific. Yeah.
teka. Republic of Palau. We had them before. We have in Micronesia. Is that Micronesia
No,
Islands? No.
No.
Wrong.
We
Separate,
don't have
no?
in Micronesia. No. In fact, we don't have any presence in the Pacific. That's why
We don't have us in the Pacific?
no, not among the Pacific Island Forum countries, none except Papua New Guinea. But
PNG.
but PNG, yes, but not in the Pacific.
We never had an embassy or a consulate in Palau?
Before,
It was closed at 2012.
before, but
Micronesia, wala tayo?
Wala.
Oh, parang we had in Ponape. I went to Micronesia 20 years ago. Parang we had. We
Well, we can-
closed.
we can also look there.
Don't you need Palau and don't you need Micronesia?
Well, we could use all of them.
Ay, ito na pala. Ito pala.
Uh,
Bucharest, we need. I went to the
Bucharest
embassy.
it's open already. Bucharest was
Yeah.
last year.
Oh,
last year.
so mali itong list nyo, hindi
So-
updated. Yeah. Bucharest is already
Yeah,
open.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sino yung
25?
Sino pa punta?
No, wait. Is Bucharest for next year or
No,
this year?
It's open.
Yeah,
Our ambassador is just waiting for his agreement.
Hindi. Bakit open na raw? So, i-out ito. It says here that Romania is part of your 2025 request. No, if it's already open,
It's already open. It was last year's request.
listahan din. Ha? Update nyo yung listahan at baka mag-double budget tayo. So, not Bucharest. Havana, you should have Havana.
Sorry.
Havana.
No, Havana has not yet been reopened.
But it was closed,
It was
right?
closed in 20.
So, I think you should open Havana, right? Stockholm has been open.
That's open. Ano?
Stockholm has been, so Havana is not yet, but that should be to open. Stockholm is open.
That's peace.
Koror,
Caracas.
sa Palau, wala nga. Wala. Do you think it should be open? Caracas, no, I don't think so. Dublin is reopening.
Dublin is already.
Yeah. Dear, hindi updated to, ha? Helsinki, yes. We funded it already. Frankfurt, yes. Of course. Oo, no? Ba't masinara yun? Saipan? No. So, it's up to you. Barcelona, yeah, very good. We opened it again. And Pohnpei in Micronesia. Vladivostok was closed. Consular office, but
We never had one in Vladivostok.
why does it say here it's closed? Maybe malitong listahan nyo diri, ano nyo. There was never any consular office in Vladivostok?
No, never. I think I understand my colleague says that there was a proposal about 20 years ago for Vladivostok, but it never materialized.
Dear, Timin, just for the record, we never had a consulate So mali ito. It was not closed. There was never. Okay, you updated.
Honorary consulate meron, but not a consulate. So,
How much does it cost? It depende sa jurisdiction, no?
it would depend on the
Yeah.
location and the cost of living in each post. So it differs.
Okay, please give us the posts that were closed and those that have been reopened since it's been 12 years
Mm.
and those that are still not funded and you think need to be reopened, and maybe those, wag na nyo isama yung like Caracas na hindi na kailangan.
Mm.
But all other new posts which may not have been closed but you need to have presence.
Oh,
As compared, let's say, to Indonesia, to Vietnam,
yeah.
right? Ganon, wish list.
Wish list.
So in short, need for reopening, close but no need to reopen, or new opening
Okay.
suggestions.
Thank you, ma'am.
And the cost.
Okay. I think if we had our way, we would like to open a post in Central Asia, at least one. We've never had one there.
A request before, where in
Before.
Central Asia?
In Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan.
Astana.
I thought I saw it in the list before.
But it never,
Okay.
and also in
Yeah.
Africa, in East Africa or West Africa.
Where in East Africa?
Well, there are many possibilities aside from Kenya. We have in Ethiopia or
We don't
possibly,
have in Kenya?
and we have in Kenya.
We
That's
have in
that's
Kenya.
the only one. But we may need more posts. For example, Ethiopia, and then in Southern Africa, perhaps Botswana, and then Western Africa, some
We should have, I
Ghana
think, in Ethiopia. We should have in Botswana.
and Ghana and
But we
West.
have in South Africa.
We have South Africa, but South Africa, for example, covers about 9 or 8 countries. Our embassy in Lagos covers 13 countries, and so it puts a heavy burden on our posts, especially
Bigay
in
po nyo
Africa.
kung saan meron si Indonesia at saka si Vietnam. Tapos yung mga sinasabi po nyo, una yung reopening kasi naaral na nyo yung dati. Tapos yung new openings and the justification and the number of Filipinos.
Okay.
But it's not just the number of Filipinos. It's possibility, it's relationships and
Yes.
trade, economics, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, that's one of the reasons I feel that we need an embassy, for example, in Fiji, because Suva is the headquarters of the Pacific Island Forum, and we are a dialogue partner. And it would give us a good opportunity to build our relationship with the Pacific Island countries.
Actually,
And the same also in Africa.
yung bait kasi niya. Like, ang bait niya ata kasi.
So,
Madam Chair, the question, when you did the budget call, did you
Included.
include it? Or when you, di ba usually you submit to DBM your request, right? So, meron ho ba kayo ni-request doon na you wanted to open but it was not given funding?
well, last year we proposed the funding was given. Those are for Romania, Ireland, Finland, and it was granted and approved. So
It was granted by Congress.
by Congress,
Not by
Senate.
Senate.
Senate,
Senate.
Senate, and also Colombia. So that was the 4. Now these additional 4, we're still awaiting approval from Malacanang. For the
Senator Binay, linalagay po ba ninyo, do you put it in the president's budget in the NEP? Please put it in the president's budget and the justification and convince DBM.
Or di ba usually, Madam Chair, yung mga agencies, they submit and then kinakat pa yun ng DBM and then they come to us and they ask na ito yung kinat, kung pwede mabalik. So, ito ho ba mga for opening, did you request? Tapos it was not granted by DBM?
Request. Ang tanong po ni Senator Binay, baka naman sa huli na kami na sinasabi nyo, ang mungkahi po namin, our suggestion is include it in the NEP and let them cut you, then you come to us so we see that it's been cut. But if you never tell us where it's needed, we'll never know. Or DBM, who knows, may grant you. No, I need you. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
ASEC Nolasco to
Mm-mm.
explain because we
Okay.
did include these in the NEP. Yeah. The 4.
permission of the chair, madam. We included this and the DBM was also receptive. But the technical aspect, ma'am, is that we're still waiting from the no objection from the Office of the President. So in the event that we get the no objection from the Office of the President, the DBM assured us that this will be taken out of the contingency fund. It's not part of the DFA's budget, but it's part of the NEP already. Thank you, ma'am.
Clarify on that. So when you give us a memo, please, include the list of those you want to be reopened and the justification, and those that were closed that don't need to be reopened, just so that it's clear in my mind, hindi na kailangan yon. And those new ones that need to be opened and the cost. And please include what was not in the NEP, but because of lacking requirements of the no objection from the OP, and that means I don't have to provide the funds. That means, I'm not certain, is that allowed? The opening of the embassy or the consulate will come from the OP budget on contingency fund, right? So, liliit lang yung, can you just put into the record, please, what are the areas that will be covered by the contingency fund? You have it now or no? Okay, just include it in your memo.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so that there's no double funding. Para po hindi na kami ang mag-a-amend kung meron na pala. So there's always a request or a requirement for no objection from OP na delay lang. Otherwise, it would have been included in the NEP. Okay, if that's a NEP commitment, let it come from there. And then we can fund, apat yun, you said? How many did you say? Or what are these areas?
The three consulates and then Fiji, embassy in Fiji.
Okay, those that are mentioned here. So doesn't have to come from us, from GAA amendment. Then I can focus on the others you need. Please give it to me in the order of urgency and prioritization. Only if you want. Yes, that's also good so that we have jobs for more diplomats and officers, right? So that we can stretch our wings and have more engagements, right? And especially now that it's good in our bid for UNSC, right? Yeah. Okay, sige.
Thank you.
Please
for that,
proceed.
yes. So some of our other thrusts include, as we've been mentioning today, our campaign for a non-permanent seat on the UN Security Council for 2027
You mentioned
to 28.
chair.
And then as our preparations for the ASEAN chairship in 2026. And of course, promote.
Be preparing for our chairmanship.
We are already in the process of first creating our national organizing committee to be responsible for the preparations. This will include, sorry? Yeah. And we've already, through Administrative Order number 17, constituted a national organizing council for hosting the ASEAN for that year, 2026. The chairperson of the ASEAN National Organizing Council is the executive secretary, but there will be vice chairpersons from the secretaries for foreign affairs, trade and industry, social welfare and development. These are the three pillars of ASEAN. And then we'll also have special committees for senior officials, as well as various ASEAN NOC committees. And there'll also be an ASEAN Matters Technical Board. So we're busy preparing for our chairship by creating first the institutional framework for organizing our chairmanship. So that would
The
be
NOC, the ASEAN
national.
Organizing Committee,
Yeah.
is headed by the ES
He is the overall
and the DFA.
DFA, and will also be helped by the other two agencies, DTI and the SW. Because the they represent the three pillars of ASEAN, which is the political, the economic, and the social.
We already have the agenda. Not
For
yet.
the
Agenda
we're still in the process of preparing. I think a lot will also depend on what happens next year
Mm.
under the chairmanship of Malaysia, because we'll see now where areas that we may have to focus on.
Is it very general or would it be specific like West Philippine Sea?
Oh, it will be very
Specific.
specific in many.
Let's say Gaza.
I'm sure that will be taken up.
Yeah, the Palestine issue.
Yes.
West Philippine
Oh,
Sea.
definitely under Malaysia, the Palestine issue.
Yes. That's why
And,
it's good that they're before us because we should make a very unequivocal stand on the genocide in Gaza.
Mhm.
Right.
And of course, on Myanmar, that will definitely
Myanmar,
that will
yes.
probably be still on our plate by our chairmanship.
Who's our ambassador now to
At the moment, we have a charge,
Sharjah? No ambassador
not yet.
because of the condition there. No.
Well, there's some political
Mm.
considerations, but it's on our plate. If we can find someone who wants to go there, but there might be possible there, but those are other issues, and of course, West Philippine Sea and other regional issues will definitely be there on the item under the political pillar. Madam Chair, and of course, we will continue our efforts on issues of importance to us. These include, of course, the West Philippine Sea, South China Sea issue, and then the retrofitting of the DFA headquarters. We are going to begin.
Just, back to ASEAN.
Yeah.
How about the membership of Timor-Leste? That's been pending for more than 10 years.
Yes. In fact, now Timor-Leste is an observer, and there is a growing move to see whether they can already become a full member by next year. If not possible, then it could fall during our chairmanship. But they still
Is
have to.
lacking in terms of the requirements for Timor-Leste to be a member of ASEAN.
Well, they have to fulfill an agreed roadmap, and this roadmap consists of many elements. But one of the key elements is they have to adhere to various ASEAN agreements.
Can I have a memo on this, on what are the agreements they have to adhere to? In short, iakay po natin sila. They've been a good friend. And if it's in terms of their education, social services, whatever compliance, the leadership of Timor-Leste is very close to us. We have very strong ties with Timor-Leste, I mean, personal and political. And I think it would be good if they're not tackled or included in Malaysia. It would be good if the Philippines, during at least a Philippines time, would have completed and not just wait for their accession, but masasabing tinulungan natin that we help them every step of the way. Because I recall way back in 2009, this is not a new bid for membership. Since 2009, I recall the former president then, who's now the president, has been telling me about their wish to be a member of ASEAN. And at the time, I tried to help in whatever way I can. So it's been like, 15 years. It would be good if we could help a neighboring country. And Indonesia, of course, is helping them as well, right?
Yes, ma'am. In fact, we are providing technical assistance to help them and training for their personnel, especially foreign service. But the Philippines, of course, has been fully supportive of their efforts. Of course, the issue here is it needs consensus from ASEAN, all the 9 members.
Don't think there would be any, because even Indonesia, which historically they had problems with, is supporting them and helping them. So who in ASEAN would be against their membership?
Maybe I can.
Bulong.
Bulong na lang. Oh, Madam Chair, not really. No one is blocking. I think there already is a political commitment to for their membership to support. It's just maybe some countries are a bit more fastidious when it comes to seeing how well they fulfill some of their commitments. Others might be more liberal.
I would like to understand what is lacking in them, and then they should know what is lacking and how neighboring countries could help them, right?
I'd be very happy, ma'am, to
Sige.
tell you in
I'll
private.
their membership is favorable, is an advantage to us, right?
Yes,
Oh.
yes, I think we have a long, and of course, even on religion, we're very close. We're the only predominantly Christian Catholic countries in the ASEAN.
May I request for a 5-minute bathroom break? And you can also walk a little, 5 minutes, then I will resume.
Promote not only the arbitral award, but also our position and views on the West Philippine Sea on the basis of international law and our commitment to a rules-based order. Then the other major issue will be the retrofitting of the DFA headquarters. We will be moving to a temporary site, I think by the end of next month. So to the Double Dragon. And in the meantime, while we are temporarily located there, we will begin the retrofitting of the DFA building in the former ADB building on Rojas Boulevard. So,
May
Madam
I know if your retrofitting, it's already in your NEP, I suppose. There's no need for an amendment to that, no? It should have been provided, as well as the rental space, the rental for the office. Where are you moving?
They're moving to the Double Dragon building in MOA.
Here also.
Oh, malapit
Nearby.
din dito.
Okay. And how many years rental?
Well, they told us 3 to 4 years. Kasi it'll be a major retrofit of the old building. Kasi it's a historic building already, the DFA building, and it's I think 1965. Who is the architect? We'll check. I'm not sure who the architect was. But it is a listed historic building now in Pasay City. So, but I think it does need to have a major overhaul, especially the foundations and the wiring, etc., and including a number of hazards. We're expected to start moving out by October. We've actually, some offices have already begun moving out. So we hope to be fully there in the new building by end of the year, before the end of the year, maybe by November. And so we'll move there, and then simultaneously the retrofitting will begin dun sa existing ADB building. So that should be about 3 to 4 years. So, Madam Chair, those were a major thrust, but of course there are others that we will pursue, but these are the main ones for the coming year. So in closing, Madam Chair, we'd just like to respectfully request your favorable consideration of the DFA budget for 2025 in order to help us in ensuring that we can adequately fulfill our mandate to the Filipino people. Thank you.
Thank you. That's for the main DFA. Then we will have the presentations. Do we usually have the presentations of the attached agencies? Can we just hear from them briefly, please? Previous slide, please. UNESCO, no. UNESCO, Technical Cooperation, VFA, no. And FSI, yes. FSI, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very briefly, Madam Chair, our NEP for next year is at 140 million pesos after this is an increase of 38% from our last year's budget, basically to cover the rental cost of our new space at the Double Dragon Tower. And DBM incorporated our Tier 2 budget of last year into Tier 1 this year, including the funding that you have provided, Madam Chair, to our training program, including the Law of the Sea Academy, where your staff participated. So it's about 38%, Madam Chair. We expect to increase our number of training programs for next year.
The Law of the Sea Academy was already existing? Or you just created it
We started it this year, Madam Chair.
this year?
We recently concluded our Lovelacy Academy for ASEAN diplomats yesterday, where we had 2 diplomats from Timor-Leste attending. So we hope to carry this forward for next year, including additional training programs from the current 77 to 90 for next year. And Madam Chair, we also wish to continue with our digitization programs for our foreign language courses and our research papers, Madam Chair. So hopefully we will be able to exceed our targets for this year with our expected programs for next year. And in addition to that, Madam Chair, if you would recall, we did send a letter request to your office for additional unprogrammed expenditure for next year, which was not included in the current program, in the amount of a little about 16 million pesos to cover additional training programs and to continue with our digitization effort at the Department of Foreign Affairs. Again, mindful of the comments made at last year's budget for FSI to be able to be accessed by our foreign service post outside of Manila, and for us to bring our training programs to our consular offices outside of Manila as well.
Okay, explain to me your digitization. What are you digitizing?
Yes,
What
Madam.
researches, documents, what?
For example, Madam Chair, in the foreign languages program, we have 26 foreign languages available at our foreign language section, but we only have 7 which are digitized. These will be programs where you can access it remotely or within the language laboratory which you inaugurated before. So every year, Madam Chair, we add 2 more languages. So for this year, we are digitizing German and 1 other foreign language. We wish to have all 26 foreign languages digitized in order to make it accessible to anybody remotely. In addition to that, Madam Chair, we have to digitize access to our Foreign Service Institute library. So we are providing...
Languages first.
Yes, Madam
Because
Chair.
it's not digitized, how is it being used?
Aside from the 7 which are currently digitized, you have to literally go physically to our language laboratory. You will be provided access to an audio device and a hard copy book.
No, that's not
So
practical. Yes.
Yes, Madam Chair. So we're doing digitization at 2 foreign languages a year. It is not a cheap
No,
process,
no.
Madam Chair. It costs almost about 2 million per language. So we have to...
How many languages do you have?
We have currently offering 26 foreign
26
languages.
languages. And
Yes,
what is
Madam.
your total budget request for digitization?
We are hoping to continue with an average of 2 foreign languages every year.
Why only 2 in a year?
In order to have a modest request, Madam Chair,
No,
but if
I
you're...
need to know, okay. What are you digitizing for the foreign language program? Materials.
We are transforming the books into videos
Okay.
with a corresponding audio, and built in within the software would be a test at every level before you progress to the next level.
You have the hard copy materials for a foreign language program, and all you need are the funds to digitize them so that they could be made readily available, not just to DFA officers and staff, but to anyone who wants to access it.
That is the intention, Madam Chair.
And how much is a digitization of one language?
At approximately 2 million
2.
pesos.
So
Yes, Madam
26
Chair.
times 2,
Yes, Madam Chair.
54, right?
That's about 1/3 of our existing budget for next year.
52. 52. All you need is 52. You need 52 million to digitize all the materials that we have of the 56 languages for all DFA personnel to access and to open it to students for free, or may bayad?
It's free, Madam Chair. We
For
are
free.
offering it to all government offices. We have seen an increase in take-up from the other government offices this year, precisely because they could access it at their own time and at their own pace.
But why go 2 languages a year? Wala na tayong lahat dito. Sa 26, 2 languages a year, 13 years, wala na po ako. Oo.
Madam Chair, it's the difficulty in the procurement process. So far we have only seen 2 reliable service providers able to provide that services.
So even if you have the funds, you're not able to do it. I see.
Yes, Madam Chair. Within the country, there's a limitation on the number of consultants that we can work with to digitize the foreign languages.
Languages have you digitized?
We have digitized the basic language, which is Spanish, French. I think Nihongo, and then some others that we were.
If we provided the resources, you're not able to do it.
We are not able to procure the service providers for more than 2 foreign languages a year, Madam Chair.
Oh, then you just prioritize what you can or the language that. Why is that? There's a lack of suppliers for digitization?
Madam Chair, we do the procurement process, so this must all be registered with GPPB, and we have very limited service providers in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm. Can we? I'm sure there must be a solution. Not because I want to provide the whole amount, so that we can access it. It can't be just 2 a year. Can we, while respecting the process of procurement, but we must find out that there could be more than just 2 in the whole Philippines who could do those services. I don't understand it completely. There must be.
The basic languages of Bahasa, Arabic, French, Mandarin, Nihongo, and Spanish are already digitized. We're working on the others languages. We cannot do the procurement outside of Manila, Madam Chair, because one of the contract provisions is for the service provider to be reachable and able to address any necessary glitches in the program, Madam Chair.
This is part of the procurement law. That's how strict it is.
Yes, Madam Chair, they should be registered with GPPB.
So first, taking that into consideration, please give us the 2 languages you wish for GAA 2025. But please find out how you can increase it and try to finish all by next year, so that the materials are not wasted, assuming you have the hard copy for all the 26 languages.
Madam Chair, we will revisit procurement overseas and see if we can work within the law and if that could be a reasonable approach that we could take to hasten the digitization of more languages per year, Madam Chair.
Please proceed, FSI.
Yes, Madam Chair, we also wish to continue with the Law of the Sea Academy program for next year. We are requesting an additional budget for that. And if Madam Chair would support FSI, we would wish to have an additional budget to get insurance for our personnel, which we don't have and DFA has. Madam Chair, we try to
FSI
access the process in DFA, but DFA decided that we are not part of DFA.
Why? FSI is not part of DFA? No, you are.
That was the conclusion reached
No.
by the department.
The
Madam
Foreign
Chair.
Service Institute, what is it considered? A bureau?
It is an attached agency.
It's an attached agency of DFA.
Yes, Madam Chair. So
And you do not, what is the insure? You have a private HMO. You have an HMO aside from PhilHealth. Merong insurance ang DFA. Hindi po kasama ang FSI?
the attached agencies are not included, Madam Chair. All of the attached agencies are not included.
Is that a COA issue? Who's in charge? So if you're not part of a DFA family, why are you here with them now?
Madam Chair, it's a
And why are they accessing your language programs, and why are you in the DFA building? That cannot be. I think the attached agencies must also have, at saka mga DFA yung mga tao nyo, di ba?
DFA said that we are not DFA personnel, Madam Chair.
Which bureau, which office?
Legal office, Madam Chair.
May have the legal officer? Yes.
Could I ask Yusek Morales?
Yes, Yusek Morales, please.
Thank
You
you.
say it with such a straight face, like you're very serious about it.
Uh,
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Of course, we consider FSI to be part of the DFA. In principle,
There's qualification, like
yes,
kapatid kita pero hindi, ganon.
we consider them to be part of the DFA, ma'am, but in a certain sense, they have their autonomy. They have their own charter. They are created under a presidential decree, and an attached agency is an agency which is part but separate. They have their own budget. They hire and fire. They on their own. The terms and conditions of employment are not covered by the DFA. The Foreign Service Act is also very clear on the delineation of what is what the FSI is. It's the research and training arm. But insofar as budget, administration, and other matters are concerned, they have their own. That's why they appear before this committee, Madam Chair, separately from the DFA's Office of the Secretary.
So they're authorized to have their own budget for insurance.
It's up to them if they propose.
You can procure your own insurance for your people.
If they propose and they are given the
Yes,
budget, it's up to
yes,
them.
they're allowed.
Yes, Madam Chair, that is why we are requesting for a budget for our medical insurance for the personnel.
How much is that?
We are asking 2.8 million for next year, Madam Chair.
Granted. You just need to ask. Of course, medical insurance should be. Yes, Yusek Ed.
Yes, I used to head legal. It was not my opinion. It was not under me that that opinion came out. That the DFA is that the reason why Noel Fernandez, a chief of mission, a DFA officer, is head of FSI. Is that's what the law says, that a chief of mission, meaning a career DFA officer, would head the FSI. But all the employees of FSI are not DFA, I would say, rank and file, DFA organic employees. They don't get assigned. They have a different hiring method and so forth. So they really are an attached agency within the DFA, and they're of immeasurable help to us, including under ASEC or dear General Fernandez. So that explains why he's here. He is with DFA, but now assigned to.
FSI is always DFA, but those comprising DFA, FSI are not necessarily DFA. Understood.
Madam Chair, we are making this request because it was only last year where DFA said that FSI personnel are not DFA. Hence this initial request. We were trying to get into the Provident Fund and the HMO process of DFA, but it was only last year that they said that we cannot. Hence our approach to Congress for additional fund.
Please, for the medical insurance that will be granted. Yes, I see this letter here. Okay, and you will also continue your Law of the Sea Academy, which was established this year.
Yes, Madam Chair, we found it helpful to engage with diplomats from ASEAN in order to impress upon them the Philippine narrative on the West Philippine Sea, because they hear the law of the sea from other countries. We want them to understand the issue from our point of view, and we can do that by bringing them in under a training program and having our experts lecture to them what the law of the sea is from the Philippine perspective.
So you only created this program this year.
We started this year, Madam Chair, through the support that you provided for our budget,
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Whose proposal was it? Who came up with the idea and the concept note for the Law of the Sea Academy?
We did, Madam Chair, FSI did. I suggested the idea.
Okay, that's good. Let's continue that. And maybe expand it so that we don't only discuss the West Philippine Sea issue? There are many other issues considering the seas. Or
Mad-
is it only meant for the West Philippine Sea issue?
the Law of the Sea Academy, Madam Chair, is focused on the West Philippine Sea. The perspective that we're bringing in is we're bringing in science diplomacy. We understand that it would take generations to resolve the political issue, but we wish for the ASEAN and the neighboring littoral states to understand that what is more important is the marine environment to protect and manage it well for the next generation. So we're having a long-term perspective on the matter.
Sure. So the West Philippine Sea issue is just one of many issues. It should be the blue economy, high seas treaties, etc. Yes.
Madam Chair, the blue economy is part of the discussion in our Law of the Sea Academy. In other Law of the Sea Academy in foreign countries, they are focusing more on dispute resolution and negotiation. We are focusing on the blue economy. We're focusing on the life of the biodiversity in the marine environment, and we're bringing science diplomacy into the equation, Madam Chair.
I would like to see, well, it's only this year, I would like to revisit the concept note that you had that convinced me to fund it for this year. And what are the coverage aside from the West Philippine Sea and bringing the arbitral ruling into greater awareness of people and meeting with the diplomats of other nations, but also others bring in science at the same time, other treaties and dispute resolution. We would like to learn more about overlapping EEZs and all of that. So you could expand the coverage of what will be taken up in your academy.
Yes, Madam Chair. In fact, one of the modules is maritime boundary delimitation, where we had Efren Karandang from NAMRIA, our representative in the Committee on the Delineation of the Continental Shelf, as our lecturer.
Yeah, that's good. We will support that. Thank you.
And we are also requesting additional funding for a motor vehicle, Madam Chair.
Oh, nandito na po sa listahan.
Opo, nasa listahan po.
Yes.
We have noted that we have to rent vans whenever we bring course participants outside of DFA to attend to lectures and sessions outside. We thought it would be better and cheaper if we have our own motor vehicle. Hence a request for high ace, Madam Chair, to care about 14
Even
passengers.
Senate offices don't have our own vans. We rent also. Maybe it's good also service for tayo wala rin eh. But we'll consider that. It's a small matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We proceed with the next UNESCO. Ivan. Can you please start with the funds that were given this year? Has it been utilized?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Madam Chair, and thank you for the funds that you actually allotted for our stakeholders this year. Those funds have already been sent to our stakeholders, and they are currently working on their programs. In particular, the funds for research at the underground river, the funds for the trail at Mount Hamiguitan, the funds for the heritage code in Ifugao, and we're also having a lot of partnerships right now. So
What you mentioned were all funded this year?
yes, ma'am. So all those funds are being utilized at the moment, and we will submit the necessary reports for those initiatives. And our stakeholders have been very grateful to you, ma'am, for
Like for
including them.
example, when you say the trail in UNESCO or UNACOM is not capable of doing that. So you partner with LGU or you partner
For the trail, ma'am, we downloaded the funds to the Davao Oriental State University. So DORSU is the one implementing that program in Mount Hamiguitan. They have already conducted their initial.
Ifugao?
In Ifugao, ma'am, it is the Ifugao State University, IFSU.
Please give us, so that's, I just remember Hamiguitan and Ifugao.
Yes, ma'am.
Please give us a report. And what is the expected output of the SUCs?
Ma'am, for Hamiguitan is they will be doing infrastructure and education on the trails, because at the moment Mount Hamiguitan is closed. So they are utilizing the funds to prepare the trail. for reopening. For Ifugao, we are creating a heritage code, a local legislation. So they did consultations and they are drafting local legislations that would protect the cultural landscape because there has been really no regulation on development at the rice terraces. So we hope to have that code ready by the end of the year for the legislative of the province of Ifugao to enact.
Yes. Since these are funds that were downloaded to UNACOM, which is also an attached agency, right? Do you have the same what's it, legal standing as the FSI?
Yes, ma'am.
right?
We
Attached.
we have
Okay.
our own budget and we have
Yes.
to
Okay.
to
And you
undertake our own.
downloaded it to an SUC.
Yes, ma'am.
So we need the report of the SUC, not just cuento,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
the actual output if they've utilized it fully.
Yes, ma'am. The Commission on Audit actually joins us when we do the monitoring and the actual implementation. So they are there to observe the project implementation.
Thank you. The Pinya project, did I put it under UNACOM?
Yes, ma'am.
or
It
NCCA?
is also under UNACOM. We are happy to report that the exhibit will proceed next month in October. And counterpart funding was allotted by the National Museum of the Philippines, the National Commission for Culture and Arts, as well as the DFA. So there has been a lot of contributions from other agencies for this exhibit. We will be launching the exhibit, if I'm not mistaken, on October 11 at UNESCO headquarters.
Maybe just those details now. Just an update of all of those. I can't go to Paris for that opening.
Yes,
unfortunately,
ma'am.
I can't travel, but just an update.
Yes, ma'am. We're also happy to report that since last year, we have had 7 new UNESCO designations for the Philippines. In previous years, we've actually had 0. So this is a big jump from the previous designations we've had. And we will be submitting full nominations for all the designations next year,
Designations did we have this year?
including the 2 that we had, or 3 we had this year, 7 additional ones, ma'am, since 2023.
Pinya, I know, Pinya.
Ma'am, for the designations, we have Bohol Island Geopark,
Mhm.
Iloilo City Creative City of Gastronomy, Legazpi City as a Learning City, the Yapayaos Biosphere Reserve, Pinya Handloom Weaving, and for the memory of the world Asia Pacific, the Doctrina Christiana, and the Hinilawod Epic Chant recordings. Yes, ma'am. And we are submitting several more nominations for next year because it will be our 80th year with UNESCO in 2026 and the 75th anniversary of UNACOM as well in 2026. So we are hoping that in 2026 we will have even more designations to celebrate our this milestone with UNESCO. And again, we are very thankful for the funding that you've allotted because it's been utilized for the capacity building with regard to the preparation of these nomination dossiers.
These 7 new, what do you call them, designations?
Yes, ma'am.
When were they submitted? How long does the process?
Well, the ones that took long were actually Bohol Island Geopark. It was a very long process, 10 years. The Aklan Pinya Handloom Weaving was submitted in 2022. But all the other 5 were submitted in 2023. Yes.
It's fast.
Yes, ma'am.
And there were years when we didn't have any submissions or
Yes,
no
ma'am.
designations.
There were most of the years we haven't had submissions or designations. We had creative cities, one in 2019 and one in 2017, one MOCAP and one World Heritage Site in 2014. But prior to that, we really did not have many submissions to UNESCO.
Can we do more submissions?
Yes, ma'am. We are actually giving our stakeholders all the support, and we want to make sure that we submit the maximum number of nominations allowed by the country for every designation. At the same time, we are allowed to have an unlimited number of multinational nominations for World Heritage, Memory of the World, and Intangible Cultural Heritage, which is why the Philippines is actually leading the effort to have multinational nominations for ICH and transnational nominations for World Heritage.
For intangible cultural heritage, there's a lot we can
Yes,
we
ma'am.
can give.
We are allowed to submit one every year, but what we are now doing is we are working with other countries for multinational nominations where there are similarities. For example, ikat weaving, we will work with ASEAN countries, sticky rice, the culinary heritage of fermenting fish. We want to partner also with the small island developing states for the Austronesian boat making traditions. And our Hispanic heritage, we are working with Spain and Latin American countries for Pasos de Semana Santa and the festive manifestations of the Santo Niño devotion.
Have any languages been registered or submitted?
Ma'am, languages are not.
They're not allowed?
They're not allowed.
They're part of ICH?
No, ma'am. Languages are. It's basically you have to manifest something about that language, but it's not the language per se.
Any, aside from piña, which is fiber, any weaving traditions that have been submitted?
None yet, ma'am, but we are working on a multinational nomination for ikat weaving.
Ikat, but ikat, is ikat considered weave or
It's
dye?
it's the dyeing
It's a
technique.
dye.
but-
Ikat is dye, not weaving.
Yes, ma'am, but the weaving after the dyeing is part of the process that we are nominating.
Why not abel also?
Ma'am, if we do in Abel, we'll have to find some commonalities as well with other countries to strengthen our nomination because we're only allowed to nominate one element per year as a country, but we are allowed an unlimited number if we partner with other countries. So that's what we're working on. So for next year, we are looking at submitting the Christmas lanterns of Pampanga for March next year. And then for the year after, it might be Santa Cruzan and Flores de Mayo so that other communities also benefit from the nominations.
I hope you work with the NCCA.
Yes,
for
ma'am.
this as
They
well,
are
because
part.
there could be living traditions, SLTs, in different areas which we may not be aware of that they work in, right?
Yes, ma'am. They are always with us when we do these meetings. We work very closely with Ms. Rene Talavera for the nominations. All the nominations actually go through her office before they are submitted to UNESCO.
How about our architecture? Let's say the Ivatan House as opposed to the different Ifugao houses, whether it's Mayoyaw or Tuwali, Kiangan, or Banawe,
Ma'am, we
the
can
different
also
houses and the Turogan of the Muslims of the Maranaos, diba?
Yes, ma'am. We can also look into that. Maybe we can again do a multinational nomination for Muslim houses in Southeast Asia or Austronesian
Not
houses
just
in
Muslim, but even Cordillera.
yes, Austronesian houses in Southeast Asia. So there's a lot of potential for multinational nominations.
So pasensya na po, humaba dito sa una ko, maski maliit ang budget. That's part of our cultural diplomacy, part of our diplomacy. Yes. Thank you, Ivan. We'll talk on another time with all of this. Yeah,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you. Okay.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Elsa, the attached agencies, Technical Cooperation, TCCP.
Yes, ma'am. For FY 2025, we are proposing 5.124 million, which is an 18.5% increase from our budget in 2024.
We're also an attached agency.
Yes, ma'am.
You were created by law.
By EO 17.
You have the same nature, the same standing as the
Uh,
FSI and UNACOM.
Not exactly, ma'am, because we are not properly staffed. We are not properly structured. So that's part of the ongoing organizational and performance review of the TCCP, which we're doing after about 32 years of existence.
32 years created by an EO.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's a performance review now, whether
Only
to
now.
retain you or to abolish.
Yes, ma'am.
And to just absorb it sa DFA.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I leave it to the process. Yes. Okay. We can proceed.
Should I go on, ma'am?
That's okay. So
Okay.
we will just wait for the performance review.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Then I will leave it. Who's doing the review? The secretary? Who's doing the review?
The review, ma'am, it's the UP and CPAG, CPED, Center for Policy and Executive Development.
And if in the event that the EO is no longer relevant now, creating the TCCP, actually their functions can be done by the DFA. Because this is a tech being given by the Philippines with other countries, right? That could easily be done by DFA.
Yes, ma'am, that could be done if that is the finding, because, but at any rate, our aim is to see how we can further strengthen that office so that we can not only undertake existing activities, but even explore additional activities, because we look at it as more of our arm for development assistance as well as providing training for countries.
Leave it to the judgment. So after 32 years of existence, there's a review ongoing. And when will the review finish? Be
Ma'am,
submitted to
it's
us?
due to be finished early 2025 because it was delayed because of procurement issues as well. We're too small to form a back, so we had to tap the DFA back to do it for us. And there was a steep learning curve there.
Yeah. We to the next agency. The VFA.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I'm Antonio.
Again, you're an attached agency. Shouldn't it
Yes.
be under DND? No, you're under.
No, it was previously a presidential commission, which was attached later on to the DFA. So it has a separate budget as well, just like the other attached agencies present.
Maybe you can just submit your budget to us, or we can just review it. Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Do you conduct regular meetings as an oversight of the VFA in 1999? I don't think, and there's a Senate Oversight Committee on the VFA. Has it been convened? Are there hearings being conducted?
There was a hearing before, but only under the House of Representatives. There has been no meeting with regards to the BFA for the actual oversight of the whole oversight committee.
Can you
which includes
kindly
the
restate your mandate?
Our mandate is to be the lead interagency mechanism to provide policy coordination, guidance, and assessment to ensure that all status of forces agreements serve the national interest.
Is this only concerning the US VFA or all status of forces
It
agreement?
covers all status of forces.
Not just the US VFA,
Not
I
just.
see.
So we have currently two, the BFA with the
Australia and
US and
SOFA.
the SOFA with Australia. And
Also reviewing the possible reciprocal access agreement with Japan.
yes, sir, we were part of the negotiations as observers, pending the approval or the concurrence of the Senate with regard to the RAA. As soon as it is concurred in and signed, then it will be our responsibility to monitor all the activities under the RAA.
So it's clear, it's not just the US VFA, but also the Australian VFA and the possible reciprocal access agreement with Japan.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other attached agencies? No, okay. Regarding the building fund, can it be flashed on the screen, please? There's a building. $1.45 billion. What is the building fund for? May we know? Is it for the retrofitting of the DFA building, or is it for acquisition of overseas properties? May I have the person in charge to clarify the utilization of the building fund?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could I, with your permission, request Yusek Morales to respond?
Thank you.
I'm answering my own question. So acquisition, construction of new properties abroad or in the Philippines. Yeah, chanceries. Why are you not utilizing your building fund, 1.4 billion?
Thank you.
Sorry, 2024, 1 billion. And then in the NEP, it's 1.4. If you put 1.4, that means, what's the utilization of the 1 billion for this year? Has it been utilized? And the NEP of 1.45 is over and above the 1 billion? Is that how it is?
If I may, Madam Chair, just can I provide a brief background on how we utilize the building fund? In the DFA, Madam Chair, we have a properties committee, as you correctly pointed out. The building fund is used for the acquisition or renovation of our properties, either as chancery or a consular office or a mission, office of the mission, or as official residence of the head of the post, ambassador or the consul general. For the moment, we prioritize the acquisition of chancery, and the concerns we have, Madam Chair, which led to the low utilization of the building fund, is that it sometimes we face difficulty in acquiring properties abroad. Just like last year, we proposed to acquire a property in Cairo, in the new administrative capital of Egypt, but it went through some difficulty in terms of the construction and in terms of the titling of the property. So that cost 500 million pesos, and because of that big amount, we are trying to reallocate it to other projects. If you will note also, Madam Chair, the amortization for the Oka ASEAN property is also funded from the building fund. It's a lease purchase agreement, and it will conclude very soon. And also, Madam Chair, we have some funds for the DFA office at the Diosdado Macapagal Government Center in San Fernando, Pampanga, but we have not yet started that construction. And we also have need to repair emergency repairs of our government-owned properties and residences abroad. Of course, we have 3 Philippine centers, one in San Francisco, one in New York, another in Sydney. And these are all buildings which are in need of repair. And we can also fund the emergency repairs of these buildings, including the one in New York, Madam Chair, where we had to renovate the basement because the basement also is under a sidewalk. And I think we have legal responsibility for the upkeep of that one. And in addition, Madam Chair, under the new special provisions, we propose that for properties that we lease on a long-term basis, just like in London, I think, or from 75 or 50 or more years, that we be allowed. Because currently, we are not allowed to use the building fund for the maintenance and repair of properties that are not owned by the Philippine government. But if they are leased for a long period of time, just like our property in London, which is leased for a long period of time, but currently under our rules, strictly speaking, unless the special provisions would be passed, then we technically cannot spend for properties that we list for 50 years or 75 years, Your Honor. So, but the Properties Committee is working very hard to reallocate the resources. In Singapore, Madam Chair, we have demolished the old house, which used to be a chancery, and we're building a new one from the building fund, which will be finished probably next year. We are also looking at other properties. Wellington PE, the old residence, is in dire need of repair. We're trying to repair that, and other Philippine government-owned properties, Madam Chair. As you know, we own 74 properties. Approximately 35 of these are offices, consulates, chanceries, missions, and the rest are official. We only have 21 official residences. We have 6 vacant lots that could serve as either a future residence or chancery in the other countries that we own these properties.
Vacant lots.
Yes.
Why
yes,
did we
ma'am.
purchase a lots and we don't build on it or use it?
Some of the lots are donated. In Kuala Lumpur, for example, when they tried to move the capital from Kuala Lumpur proper to Putrajaya, we acquired a property in Putrajaya, but which is very inconvenient, inaccessible, and most of the embassies are not moving into that location. With only 1 or 2 in Putrajaya. So we decided to stay put in the capital of Kuala Lumpur, and so that property remains vacant. In Abuja, Nigeria, we have a lease of a property for over 75 years. We have not built yet because we were asking for the opinion of the DOJ whether we can build on a property that we do not own, but we were granted a lease of a long-term lease.
So aside from the one in Malaysia and Nigeria, what are the other countries we have properties in?
Of course, Madam Chair, we have only the lot, Madam Chair, or including the built house, because in Washington, D.C., as you may very well know, we have land and building. In Tokyo, we have a land and building, and in other areas.
No, I heard that there were vacant lots where there's no building. I wanted to find out if what are these countries where we had vacant lots with no buildings?
We have, as I mentioned, Madam Chair, Abuja, which is like ownership because it's a long-term lease. And then in Kuala Lumpur, and then in Houston, we also have a property in Houston. And
Bakit bibili
Bucharest,
ng lupa tapos hindi ginagamit? Hindi nagpatayo? Why did we buy the lot in Houston?
it used to be an official residence. We used to have a consulate in Houston many, many years ago. Then we closed
So
it.
there's a structure.
Yes, ma'am. And
It's
then,
not a vacant lot.
and then it was
May bahay.
demolished because the property was really very old, not fit for human.
And so we own the lot.
We own the lot, and
Sayang
it's
naman.
now not very convenient as a location for a small and not convenient location for the chancery or the residence.
The other one is Brunei.
And we also have in Brunei.
Regarding those properties, would you consider selling them if they're vacant lots and not to be used ever?
Some of them are. We will review the terms of donation. Some of them have been donated, Madam Chair, and we will look at the restrictions on the terms of the donation.
Houston, where else? So that's Malaysia.
We have 2 in Brunei, Madam Chair,
Mhm.
and
2 in Abuja.
and 2 in Abuja, also for the chancery and for the residents. Then Kuala Lumpur and Houston. So total of 6, Madam Chair.
Regarding the building fund, as I mentioned to the secretary, and I think Ambassador Natividad and Consul General, what is her name? Si Frankfurt? Banzon knows about it. The possible interest in the Philippine government's acquisition of the vicarage where Jose Rizal stayed for a few months, several months, in Wilhelmsfeld. And I was wondering whether it would be best to just change or revise the provision to allow the purchase of cultural of properties to make it into a Centro Rizal or whatever name you would like to call it, would you be able to use the building fund, or do you need me to amend the budget, which I can? In short, I believe it should be purchased. It's on Rizal Strasse, and it's the house, and it's for sale. I mean, sinong bibili niyan? Kundi ang bansang Pilipinas. The Protestant Vicarage, the information came from Conjen Abalos a few months ago. And I've spoken to the mayor of Wilhelmsfeld. They've reached out to us, the president of the Protestant group that is selling the property. I think the DFA should take over the talks or negotiations for a serious contemplation on purchasing this. I think it would be a very good Centro Rizal, or if you want to make it a consulate, but a Centro Rizal, because this is in conjunction, in preparation for our 2025. That's 1 year from now. Frankfurter Buckmesse as a guest of honor. But whether we're a guest of honor or not, if the beds and the desk of that house were donated by the Ulmer family to Fort Santiago, and some were retained in the consulate in Frankfurt, cabinet lang yun, desk lang yun, hindi lang. At saka yung kama, ito yung bahay, and it's available. So I think we should consider that. Now, if you don't want me to touch the building fund because you're using it, then I will amend the budget for an approximation of how much it will cost. So there's been a suggestion not to add because you have the funds. But I don't like to impose on the utilization of the building fund. You may, because I have a list here of where you're going to spend it. So what is the pleasure of the DFA? Thank you. But the amount here is wrong. Huh? It is not 100 million. It's only 40. It's only 40. It says 100. It's not. Yeah. It's less than 50. Pesos. Yes. Thank you.
Madam Chair, as you pointed out, the building fund can be used for building or construction or maintenance of a chancery, a mission, an office, or a residence. And in our view, it could also include a cultural center. Some of our Philippine centers abroad also have service venues for cultural activities. And the Properties Committee will meet shortly, and the indications are that the committee will favorably endorse for the use of the building fund this amount for the acquisition of the Rizal Vicarage as a cultural center. For the moment, I think it can easily be accommodated, Madam Chair, by the building fund, given the lined up projects for 2025.
Don't want to displace anything. I have a list here of 1.450 for the building fund in Abuja, Hague, Abu Dhabi, and repairs. I don't like to delete any provision here just to accommodate a cultural center in Wilhelmsfeld of Rizal. So I can amend it so that you can still continue with your building fund use as itemized here.
Madam Chair, that will give us more leeway in repairing some of our properties.
Amend ko na lang para walang magsabi pinilit ko yung gusto ko. Sige.
Salamat.
Diba? Amend ko na lang, dadagdagan ko. Pero gamitin naman nyo yung budget nyo kasi hindi gumagalaw eh. Oh? So you have the 1 billion for 2024, it's still not used. Then you have the 1.450 proposal, which, well, that can already include actually the 40M for the Rizal Vicarage. You decide what's wisest use of funds. Depende rin sa inyong utilization, absorptive capacity nyo. Mm.
Madam Chair, the reason behind the apparently low utilization of the building fund was the Cairo P. Some acquisitions did not push through because we did not come to an agreement with the host government in the provision of in the terms and conditions of the purchase agreement. They wanted us to build immediately upon purchase, and we could not do that under the current circumstances. Like Cairo PE, 500 million.
Why are you asking for 1.450 billion in 2025 when your 1 billion in 2024 is hardly used? It's only 4% utilization. So I may have to slash your 1.450, right? So that you can use, because your 1 billion is only 4% utilized. 2024. That will run up to December 2025. But I don't think you'll be able to utilize your 1.450 billion on top of your 1 billion unutilized. Right? Then we can put it to better use somewhere.
Madam Chair, the unutilized portion is a special case, as I've mentioned. We had big projects which did not push through, the Cairo PE project. But easily, we have a lot of other properties abroad that would need some money for repairs and renovation.
You have to give us a clearer picture of the 2024 funds of 1 billion, because you only have 4.35% utilization. If Cairo was not, saan malalagay ngayon? So a clearer picture. And then the 1.450 you're asking for, it's in your NEP, but we can cut the NEP if you're not using even the present year budget.
Madam Chair, we are positive that we could utilize the FY 2025 budget because we really have these proposed projects lined up. The Abuja PE, as I've mentioned, we are planning to construct already. The Hague PE to acquire an official residence. And Abu Dhabi, where we're just renting a chancery.
So that's certain. The use of the 1.450 is certain.
As long as we are able to complete all the procurement requirements, we probably will be able to use it, Madam Chair.
So the breakdown of the 1.450 is clear. There's no stumbling blocks.
Madam
so what
Chair.
you need to explain perhaps is the 2024, where there's still 1 billion, 1 billion, 8 million, 1.8. Saan galing yung continuing?
From the 2020.
Oh, yes, wait. From 2023, expiring this December, right? 3 months to go, you have 400 million. Unahin nyo gamitin yung 436 million nyo.
Can I also add?
So siguro, okay, sorry, itong 436, tapusin ninyo si Vicarage, kunin ninyo doon. Hindi pwede?
Wala pa tayong special provision.
The special provision will come next year. But you have to use your 436. Sayang naman yan. Singapore, galing ako. Sayang, may 400 million kayo.
Madam Chair, another reason is that we were planning to renovate our property in Bangkok. As you know, it's in a very prime location. And it's really an old building. But the funds required.
Okay. Please give me by next week, if you can. Yeah, next week, by Monday, the utilization of the 436 this year, next 3 months. Expire yan sayang. At saka, pangit natin kayo gumagamit ng pondo. And then, the breakdown of the 2024, which should expire in December 2025, since yung iba sa Cairo, hindi natuloy, ano yung 1 billion na yon? Yung pang next year, maliwanag, hindi ko kakat yan. Pero, yung 3 months, gagamitin yung 436, that's a happy problem. You're allowed to do maintenance O yun Diba? rental of temporary offices, purchase of furniture fixtures, or acquisition of new properties, etc. Ang daming paggagastusan ng 436 million. Sayang naman isoli. Binigay na sa inyo. Submit the breakdown of the 436 and then of expiring in 3 months, and then the 1 billion 2024. Then we decide nga, so tama sila na hindi na ako magdadagdag ng 40, you can just use part of the 1 billion for the Rizal Vicarage since ang luwag naman pala ninyo. Oo, yung special provision for the acquisition of the use for cultural center because right now walang nakalagay, no? Yes. Oo. Okay. Yes. Please use the funds. Sayang. Okay, thanks. We have the Philippine Studies programs. Perhaps I would like to see a list. I provided for Philippine Studies program publications 10 million for this year. No, 1M for publications. Why does it say here 10M?
Which include 1 million for publications.
Saan there? Be enlightened who's in charge of the Philippine Studies programs and is it 10M or 1M? No, it's 10M that I provided for in GAA 2024. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Could I request our Assistant Secretary Peria to reply to your question?
Can you please give us, because I haven't seen any hard copy publication. What happened? May I have a summary, please, of all the Philippine studies from the time that I conceived of it and started? Nakailang head na ng cultural diplomacy yun, marami. So a summary of each and what has challenges, if any. Let's utilize the funds and the hard copy publication of each of the Philippine studies programs. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair, good afternoon. We submitted to your office, I think the past week, an update on the Philippine Studies program since 2017. The book budget that you referred to is actually 2 million out of the 10 million that you had given us for this year. So we've already sent a concept paper.
This is 2 million for the documentation and the
Yes.
catalog of the workshops, and it's 1M each for the Philippine studies. Okay, let's
right.
focus first on the documentation.
That's for the book. So we've sent a concept paper, I think, a few days ago to your office. We've already started collating from the different embassies. So far, we've had 2 submissions, and they were from.
I'll just read through the submission and don't wait for my office to decide on that. I think that's really, the funds have been given to DFA.
Yes, ma'am.
And all those that had received Philippine studies should submit to the DFA, the Cultural Diplomacy Unit, all the workshops, lectures, whatever, soft and hard copy, so that it could be compiled into a Philippine studies like a Wikipedia, like a glossary or a compilation. And that could all be used for the Foreign Service Institute. It's a good library or a collective of all the Philippine studies.
Yes, Madam Chair, and we're very thankful to your initiative to start this Philippine Studies program. We've asked the different posts to submit by end of September. We already are in talks with certain publishers to discuss how we're going to go about with the publishing and the format of the book. So I guess we could say that we are on track and we are coordinating with your office at every step of the way.
We're very limited staff, so I would leave it to the better judgment of a DFA to just proceed. Number one, you have your own editors and publishers because you do publish books, right? FSI or what? Second, all the Philippine studies, of course, you're aware of that, even before your time, all the heads of cultural diplomacy. And we have the list here. I don't have to go through that. And the posts, even if they're different heads of posts, should have copy, soft copy of all the lectures and workshops. And we also did this even during the pandemic. So it's like it's just a compilation. Yeah. So
Yes,
that's
Madam Chair.
important. Yes,
do that.
please.
Thank you.
And then whatever recommendations for other areas for Philippine studies, actually maraming humihingi, no? Dumidiretso sa atin. It would be good if the posts that want Philippine studies would also include it in the list of the OSEC, so that SFA, when Secretary Manalo gives me a summary of all the amendments, that's included, right? Because you're in a better position to decide. Maybe if you will choose only 5 places, maybe this is better. You can help me decide. Yeah.
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you.
May we have the hard copy launch of the documentation by end of the year, or that's too optimistic? By January, perhaps?
Well, we have to allot the budget by the end of the year. So hopefully
You have to utilize it this
yeah,
year.
we
Yes.
utilize it this year. So hopefully by first quarter of next year, we hope to have something.
Thank you. Let's maybe February. February, that's Arts Month. Let's see. Thank you. We have the consular offices that were provided ICT. Who's in charge of that? I hope you've utilized it. Olongapo, diba? Balanga, Tagbilaran, San Jose. Gamit lahat. Okay. What's the monograph publication and the panel discussion with SEEDS? Has that been utilized? You asked for this, I provided it. Monograph publication, panel discussion with SEEDS. Small island, I think. Sinong inihingi nyo tapos hindi nyo alam? Sino humingi? Let me just go through it, okay? Then I have a bathroom break. There's installation of license network intrusion, blah, 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 software, 7M. License endpoint security software, 7M. Wildcard certificates, 40. Is it 40? 14. 40,000. Okay. So total 14. Okay. Then there's the Carmen examinations, Carmen leadership training. Yeah. Then Philippine studies, we discussed that. The consular offices being used. SIDS countries. And then the Ocean Conference in Nice, 3 million. That's for post. Yes. May I have just some feedback? Because when we give the funds, there should be, it's end of year. Yeah.
Could
Who requested the seeds? Because I wouldn't have thought of this.
Yeah. Madam, could we request ASEC?
ASPAC.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, ASEC Eileen. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Actually, the fund was allocated to UNEO, and UNEO and ASPAC partnered together to create the Pacific Conference on Health Security, which will be convened on November 27 to 29 in the Philippines. We've invited
for a conference.
Yes, ma'am.
It says a publication also.
There's plans to do a compendium after the conference.
So you're familiar with this, and it's UNEO and ASPAC.
It's UNEO, ASPAC from the DFA, and then we partnered with DOH and also with WHO, WIPRO.
What is the subject matter of the conference?
The conference is it's part and parcel of the initiative of the DFA to create a Philippine Pacific Initiative, which has 4 main pillars. One of the pillars, basically the Philippine Pacific Initiative has resilience as its main core. So we identified 4 main pillars where the Pacific Islands would be where the Philippines can cooperate with the Pacific Island countries. Specifically, one area is health security. Many of the Pacific Islands have already approached the Philippines asking for some form of support, either capacity building, training, or even allowing their patients to come to the Philippines for medical checkups. And so that's why we created that program to help them as part of our South-South Development Cooperation. Thank you, ma'am.
It's in November in the Philippines. Okay, please keep us updated. Thank you. How about the Ocean Conference in Nice? I think it was the French ambassador who brought up the subject matter to me. Which office would be in charge? Maritime? Sino po in charge? Maritime Office? Maritime and Ocean Affairs? Would you know the utilization of this? Or if it's not yet utilized, you have 1 year. Because what is happening in Nice, it is the Year of the Oceans. It's an ocean conference in Nice. And we wanted to support it by providing resources, funding to DFA so that post in Paris, and we don't have a consulate in Nice, right, could reach out and have some collaborative effort with the organizers of the Oceans Conference in Nice. That was the intention. May I know who the focal person is in DFA so that we could work
Madam Chair,
together?
perhaps
Yes,
I could
thank you.
exit there. But first, just to say that we already are beginning to utilize the 3 million. But maybe you can.
Thank you, ma'am.
Deputy ASEC, I can't see.
Elena
Maningat, yes,
Maningat,
thank
yes,
you.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for the 3 million that we received from your office for this fiscal year. We already started using.
Clarification po, the funds do not
Yes,
come
ma'am.
from the senator's office.
Yes,
We study the budget, but these are funds coming from the Treasury to DBM to the agencies. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for giving priority to the UN Oceans Conference for 2025 in Nice. We already began with interagency meetings. We've already spent so far about 900,000 for the high-level event on ocean action hosted by the government of Costa Rica noon June 2024. And we've already spent another 200,000 for interagency meetings with civil society, business, and the UN country team to prepare, and the French embassy to prepare for more national stakeholder meetings so that we can convene the full representation of the Philippine delegation in Nice next year. We're working now with the French embassy and the Philippine embassy in Paris for the cooperation because we would like to align with many of the priorities of the French government as well, and have the Philippines as their Asian representative for their activities.
A briefer from the Maritime and Ocean Affairs Office. So this came from you, Ms. Maningat, Deputy ASEC. Okay, but so what I hear from you, that's it's welcome, but it's a bit too general. So we would like to see concrete action and not all policy. Perhaps we could also see certain LGUs or maybe regions of the country that have so that we can have best practices, let's say, on marine protection, on maritime security. Maybe we can see the output of the FSI's Law of the Sea Academy, how we can bring it into this conference as well.
Yes, ma'am. We are organizing in Bohol in November a larger national conference, national stakeholders conference.
Ted, what conference have you had so far?
Ma'am, it was participation in the Costa Rica conference, pero dito ma'am, interagency meetings pa lang po. So yung national stakeholders meeting that we're organizing in Bohol in November.
It's the first meeting in Bohol.
Yes.
What was the Costa Rica
The
conference?
Costa Rica was the high-level event. The
Is this
partnership.
the High Ambition Coalition?
Ay, hindi po ma'am. This is the Oceans Conference next year co-hosted by Costa Rica and France. So the major conference is France, but the
But there
preparatory
was a
conference
meeting
is
here for the Costa Rica conference.
Yes.
Just of Philippine agencies.
Ma'am, hindi po. There was a participation of the Philippine delegation in Costa Rica in June. And then after that, we met to discuss what the outcomes of that.
There was a Philippine delegation that went to Costa Rica,
Yes, ma'am.
funded from these funds.
Yes, ma'am, because
Huh?
it's already in relation to the UN Oceans Conference for next year. So it's preparatory for the 2025.
The Nice conference, why was there a Costa Rica meeting?
Ma'am, parang joint hosting po ng France and Costa Rica.
France and Costa Rica are co-hosts of the Ocean Conference, and there was a meeting in Costa Rica.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did we have to fly? Don't we have an embassy in Costa Rica?
No.
What's the nearest embassy?
Mexico.
So we had to fly. Who went to Costa Rica?
Ambassador Lagdameo from New York, because the Oceans Conference is a UN meeting. So
Yes,
it's,
yes.
New York. And then from here, DFA and DNR went po.
Oh,
But we did it
can we have a
conjoint.
report? Do we have a report
Sige,
on that?
ma'am, we'll send.
When did they fly to Costa Rica?
June.
Okay.
We'll send a copy to your office, ma'am.
So that was the first
Yes, ma'am.
activity in relation to the Oceans
Yes, ma'am.
Conference. Okay. Sometimes it's a waste to be sending. Maybe we should send the nearest embassy kaysa galing pa sa Pilipinas. Who in DNR participated? We're funding the DFA
no.
funded DNR?
No, ma'am, we did not. They have their own funds. It was USEC. Not
Wait,
Revuelta.
just kindly give us the who
Yes, ma'am.
participated and an output of the meeting in Costa Rica on the road to
Yes, ma'am.
the Oceans Conference. And then what are the other events, meetings, interagency in foreign lands or what? So that it's not meeting and meeting and meeting. So that we want it productive and we
Yes.
want the output applicable to the protection of our seas,
Yes, ma'am.
right? And maybe also engage our POs, CSOs, NGOs, LGUs, so that they're more aware of this and considering the threats to our marine environment as well. Right?
We met with some of the civil society in August. We're also asking for their recommendations on which LGUs or particular
Which civil
best
society
practices.
groups did
Ma'am,
you
I'll
meet
give you a
with?
report on
Yes,
that as well.
please.
Yes, ma'am.
Also ask the BMB, the
Yes, ma'am.
Biodiversity Management Bureau, and the ask the DNR, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Who's in charge of marine of the DNR?
I see.
And Climate Change Commission. We also
Yes.
gave Climate Change
Yes.
Commission a budget.
Yes, I believe so.
Iba pa yung sa kanila. Okay. So please work together with the Climate
Yes.
Change Commission and with Maritime Affairs of the DFA and the French Embassy here so that the efforts are aligned and not wasted, so that the output, there should be an output. The output can probably be what's a best word? A compendium, a manual, instruction materials, not just policy, so that LGUs and barangays even surrounded that are coastal in nature can make use of everything discussed here, or legislation that I can further enhance through amendments and revisions, or new legislation that we can introduce. So policy changes and then recommendations for LGUs on the ground. And third, reading materials, soft and hard copy, that can be used by students, by practitioners, even our military, our Navy. Yeah, okay. What we actually want to see here is what are the challenges, the risks, vulnerabilities, and what's the action plan that we need to do to protect ourselves from the threats, challenges of the seas. Anyway, sige, I'll read this. Yeah, we talked about digitization. It's been UNESCO already went through that. DFA. Okay. We already asked for a copy of the list of consular offices and embassies you want to open that were closed and new ones that will be opened. I asked you about the tops and I'm summarizing now. And we want to close everything, and you will by December, and you will give me the budget for the 6 new consular offices. Yes, and we will support DFA in the moving, what do you call it, the moving mobile passport on wheels. Okay. And we talked about the building fund. You will give a detailed utilization of 436 million and the 1 billion for this year, and decide whether it should be an augmentation of the budget for the Rizal Wilhelmsfeld Vicarage or part of the unused fund, because your utilization is only 4.35%. Okay, I'm summarizing it already. So there are 3 special provisions that are not included in the 2024 NEP, but included in the GAA. The tax refund, support to climate change negotiation, rentals of Philippine chanceries, etc. They're usually requested by DFA for inclusion in the GAA. So, okay, they were not vetoed by the president, but they were excluded in the 2025 NEP. Okay, why were they? Because when we amend the GAA for special provisions, it is expected for the agency to carry it already in the NEP. So are there reasons why the tax refund, support to climate change, rentals of chanceries, official residences was not included? Because, or maybe you will request it again, then I will have to amend the NEP and the GAB again. There must be a reason why it's not included in the NEP. All right? Who's in charge? Huh? That's why. Who would know this? DBM? No, tax refund. Tax refund of foreign service posts. If no one can answer it now, please find out, because every year we amend it. But if it's amended, dapat alam na ng ahensya, nakalagay na sa NEP. Paano pag wala na kami, hindi nila alam ito? Kailangan nyo. These are the special provisions on tax refunds, support to climate change negotiation, and rentals of Philippine chanceries, consular offices, and official residences. These are special provisions for the longest time that the DFA always requests us to include and to amend because it's not in the NEP. But my point is, if it was given once and carried, maybe kindly request that it's already in the NEP for the next year. What if it's forgotten, right? Pag wala na si Attorney Doblon. Assistance to national funds, that stays, right? Despite the Department of Migrant Workers Fund. And we're able to use the assistance to national funds, which is different from the legal fund. Yes. Yusek, the Vega.
Your Honor, yes. It stays because we have separate responsibilities with the Department of Migrant Workers. They handle specific OFWs in places where they have resident offices. But the majority of our posts do not have yet the MWOs. So we have that. The legal assistance fund is a separate amount. It's 200 million pesos. It's specifically for legal fees, for payment of attorney's fees, while ATN covers all sorts of assistance, financial, repatriation, ship and remains, so forth. Our utilization this year is less than last year because it's a transition year, because the DMW is handling more and more cases. So we're still working with them on this. But we would appreciate, and it is in the budget, the same amount, because we have to be ready for any contingencies next year, as we saw during the COVID year when we had to spend a lot of money for repatriation. So that's why it was retained so far. But so far,
Wanted to make sure that the budget, it's both there and
yes,
you're utilizing it
yes,
for what it's
yes, Your
meant,
Honor.
despite the DMW.
Yes,
Yes, and
indeed, Your
it's
Honor.
clear let it not happen that an overseas Filipino encounters a challenge or a problem, and the DFA or someone in the embassy or consulate would just say, ay, hindi namin sakop yan, sa DM yan, but we know it's a new agency, so sakupin na rin natin, no? Not
Yeah.
just because it is not your task.
Yes,
right,
Your Honor,
as
because
DFA.
we allow it because we're the backup in case
Yes.
hindi kaya ng DMW. And it's happening, in fact, Your Honor.
About the allowances of those who go overseas. I know it's reviewed every so often, right? After how many years is it reviewed? I think ASEC Nolasco would know.
With the permission of the chair. Ma'am, the DBM and the DFA has already concluded its joint study of the allowances. The last one was in 2013. It was now submitted to the Office of the President, the draft executive order. Yes, ma'am. And if I may, ma'am, the miscellaneous personnel fund benefit of this year already has a line item for the second year's implementation of the allowances, not only for the DFA, but also for all government officials from other agencies that are posted abroad. May funding na po.
So there's no need for me to have a special provision or an augmentation because it's provided in the miscellaneous MPBF, and you're just waiting for an executive order. Hmm. When do you need that?
The DBM already
Yesterday, yes.
submitted the draft to the Office of the
So
President.
it's not waiting. Does it have to be approved before GAA?
If it will be
Oh.
approved before the GAA, we can take it from our existing resources or request a difference.
You have the resources. It's just the approval.
Yes, ma'am, the executive.
How long has the approval been pending?
Just last week, so.
Kayo palang huli eh. Last week lang? Wait, I don't understand. Why is the review only done from 2013? Why is it only done in 2024?
Ma'am, if I may,
Di ba adjust
under the regulation, it has to be reviewed every 2 years.
every 2 years?
So
what
it's a
happened?
joint review. I cannot answer, ma'am, for the previous sets of officers why they were not able. But ma'am, every 2 years under the current executive order on the allowances, it has to be reviewed every 2 years.
Assessment was 11 years ago.
Yes, ma'am, 2013.
So I can imagine the allowances of those living and serving overseas. It's so unfair. So it's not a matter of providing it in the GAA. It's the review. How would we know how much to give? And an OP approval for the adjustment. And you call it from the MPBF. So it's not budgetary from us. Kailangan lang kulitin nyo. Sige. Yeah.
Very active naman po yung DBM kasi joint review, we even went to jointly to several folks to verify the living conditions of our foreign service personnel.
Okay. Yeah, we have to take care of our people overseas, of course. Just like our people here, of course. Okay. Did I miss anything? Sorry. Okay na. Yes. Huh? I am told here, it's okay. There's a comparison of the list of embassies and consular offices in the GAA this year and with the NEP of 2025. So there are embassies and consular offices that are not included in the NEP. The budget of the said embassies and consular offices were limited to MOE, like Agana in Guam, Guangzhou, Hong Kong, Houston, Macau, Nagoya, Toronto, Vancouver. Can someone answer that? Yes.
With your permission, in the 2024 GAA and in the previous GAA, we have two main PAPs, ma'am. The diplomacy and then the cultural and then the consular PAPs. The way it's enumerated now in the GAA, for example, an embassy is enumerated in the diplomacy listing and also in the consular listing because they perform both consular and diplomatic practices. This year, ma'am, and next year, ma'am, we're trying to rationalize the enumeration because this year, Agana is included in the Agana PCG, a consulate general, is included under diplomacy. In the 2025 NEP, ma'am, they are now under the consular PAP. So all consulates generals are now enumerated under the consular PAP. Consular, ma'am. And all embassies are in the diplomacy plus also a small portion in the consular PAP because all embassies also perform consular functions. So wala pong ma'am na wala, there's not, it's just the enumeration and attribution. Thank you.
Covered most, if not all, unless there's something that the secretary or any of our officers would like to raise that we failed to discuss. Then we'll kayo na mag-ayos ito, ha? Yes. Okay.
Nothing at the moment.
So thank you. It's as always, it's been very enlightening and rest assured of my support. Please don't give me surprises. Bigla na lang may long list. Nakalimutan ito. Hindi, ha? Ayan, maliwanag tayo, ha? Nandyan lahat. Oo. Yes, Secretary.
Since because of your statement, could we raise one issue? I really reserve namin for later, but could we maybe just for your consideration, at least a heads up? I think ASEC Cruz would like to raise one point, one issue.
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Madam Chair, we are very concerned with the security of our more than 28 million passport holders. The data is something that we really want to protect. No? We've experienced a lot of agencies whose data have been hacked. Some were sold in the deep web. Unfortunately, if I have to say it, we're not happy with one GOCC that's in charge of printing and our passports and taking care of. Yes, Madam Chair. So we are very, very concerned about the security of our data. And we are seriously looking into the possibility of employing a cybersecurity system for all our passport data. We're negotiating with several companies, trying to get the best and lowest rate. And with your permission, Madam Chair, we will be sending a report sometime next week. Hopefully, so we can sleep soundly at night and ensure that not a single passport data is sold in the dark web.
You mentioned about your concern of a GOCC that prints, I want it on record, Apo. Mag-file ako resolution, gusto ko makilala yung mga Apo. Oo. Please give us all the information.
Yes,
And
Madam Chair.
if there's a threat to security of our passport holders, and is there a sale ongoing of any information that the GOCC holds? I've been hearing about that actually for a long time.
There was one incident, Madam, well, actually several incidents where their data and system were allegedly breached.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they would not admit to the gravity or to the degree of the breach, Madam Chair. We believe it's being sugar-coated.
Huh?
We believe it's being sugar-coated po.
Yes.
So perhaps it would be better if Apo explains.
Meeting, I want to have the DFA and APO present in a briefing, maybe not a budget hearing, so that we can be enlightened. Because
That
if I meet with them, I don't know the issue much. Yes, we can have.
we would look forward to that, Madam Chair.
Yeah, so that before the session, before plenary, I can be enlightened on this. So kindly give me your proposal. And then when I have that, we will call APO to come. Ganito. And dapat ilabas nyo. Don't hide it. Don't be reluctant, hesitant, or fearful or anxious. Just tell us the problem. Then we will ask them, what they are capable of doing and not doing. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We just want to have an independent, highly dependable, and efficient cybersecurity system exclusively for the Office of Consular Affairs, Madam Chair.
Okay, I handle the PCO budget now, Presidential Communications Office, and APO is under the PCO. So we will ask APO to be here. Okay, next week. May I ask ASEC De La Cruz to also be here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and sino pa po? I leave it to the better judgment of SFA. Who else from the FA should be here? Because we will hear the PCO budget, and APO is under the PCO.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, and please give me a memo, confidential memo, lahat. Enlighten me on this so that I can be, I can have a clear, accurate view of this problem. It's not the first time I've heard of it.
We'll have our litany of concerns,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Sige.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that's the only proposal that's coming next week, and you will join us for the PCO meeting with APO next week. You will give me also the details of the budget utilization for bidding fund. So I'll no longer repeat everything that we discussed. Okay. With that, I thank the DFA family. Always, it's always a pleasure to be with you, learn from you, know your needs, and support your requirements as well. Okay. So the budget of the Department of Foreign Affairs and all the attached agencies are deemed submitted to the plenary, and we therefore terminate the budget briefing. It's not yet the hearing because the GAB is not yet with us. Yes. I'd like to have a nice picture with you. Perhaps, hindi ko alam kung kasya tayo. We can ask the secretary to stay beside me. Yes, thank you very much. We have been commended and lauded by, at the time, the Senate President, Big Subiri.